Chapter 3952. Shui Lian attacked Ao Fei, sending out a wave of blood-red saber qi towards him. However, the blade energy was instantly torn apart by the spatial distortion caused by the godly dragon whip. Is that a heavenly core warrior's treasure? Looks like he found one of the ruins left behind by a heavenly core warrior. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. It looked like they weren't the only lucky ones. As long as one entered the secret realm, they would have a chance of finding a secret treasure. Even if it wasn't a heavenly core secret treasure, it wouldn't be bad. Shui Lian's blade energy was torn apart by the spatial distortion. Ling Xiao thrust his sword forward. The sword energy hit the shattered spatial distortion, and it actually managed to travel a few dozen meters. But in the end, it still shattered. Let me try. Yi Lingyan suddenly turned into a streak of bloody light, piercing through the fragmented space and heading straight for Ao Fei. And this blood robe seems to have some skill, although it is not as good as my Dragon God Whip. Although it's not my godly dragon whip, it's quite unique. Ao Fei was surprised. He didn't expect that not only did he find a secret treasure, but this blood-red robe was even more powerful than a normal rare Heavenly King weapon, because the blood-red robe had penetrated through the shattered spatial distortion and arrived in front of Ao Fei. This was something that had never happened before. His previous enemies couldn't even get close to him before they were torn apart by the spatial distortion. Good timing. He didn't use the godly dragon whip anymore. He just struck out with his palm. A dragon's roar sounded out. The palm strike forced Yi Lingyan back. In terms of strength, Ao Fei was at the same level as Bing Xuanji. Of course, Yi Lingyan was no match for him. Eye of Fear. Suddenly, Dark Frost attacked as well. The Ghost Domain Soul Pearl was glowing in a dark light, and her eyes had turned blood red. Ao Fei was caught off guard, and he felt his soul being filled with fear. At this moment, he was stunned. Kill! Right at this moment, Ling Xiao and Yang Mo were attacking Ao Fei from different angles. The terrifying sword energy arrived in front of Ao Fei in an instant. Seeing this, the White Dragon Great Countries people hurriedly came out to defend. In the end, one of them was killed by Ling Xiao and Yang Mo Go. Ao Fei realized how terrifying this group of people was. Even if he had the divine dragon whip, no one else in the White Dragon Kingdom had it. If this continued, the White Dragon Great Country's martial artists would probably be wiped out. This person knew when to stop. With that order, the White Dragon Empire's martial artists left one after another. The two corpses were also taken away by them. These fellows are quite direct. Once they see that the situation is not right, they turn around and leave. Ling Xiao could not help but frown as he watched Ao Fei and the others leave. This kind of person was actually the most troublesome. If I can't win, I won't fight you head-on. I can control my greed. Maybe he was hiding in the dark and causing trouble. At that moment, the people from the White Dragon Nation had left, but even more powerful cultivators had arrived at the scene. The violent sandstorm was still howling in the air, extending all the way from the ground. This caused these experts to reveal greedy expressions. In a place like this, there must be a secret treasure. Even if it wasn't a secret treasure, it must be some kind of bloodline energy. Such rich energy. There must be a secret treasure here. If we can get it, we won't have to be afraid of that Ao Fei. That's right, these people are too greedy. They already got the secret treasure, but they still want the second one. Everyone felt indignant. But right now, Master Lionfort had no idea what was going on outside. This inheritance was obviously left behind by a body refining warrior. It was very suitable for his 9-spirit lion bloodline and earth martial soul. While absorbing the power of inheritance, he could feel that his body was constantly being tempered and transformed. Everyone, this is the inheritance ground of a heavenly core warrior, and it seems like the power of inheritance is open to everyone. Even if all of us enter, we can still share the power of inheritance. There are only a few of them, they're no match for us. Why don't we work together and kill them? Then we can enjoy the power of inheritance together. Suddenly, a voice sounded out from the crowd. This person probably hadn't seen how terrifying Ling Xiao and the others were. That's why he said something like this. So what if there were more people? In the end, when one's strength reached a certain level, the number of people would become meaningless. Swoosh! Chi! However, before the crowd could respond to this person's call, they found out that his throat had been pierced by a sword beam. Blood splattered everywhere. The one who did this was Ling Xiao. He hated people who tried to stir up trouble the most. Therefore, before this guy could stir up the others, he had killed him with a single sword strike. This was called killing a chicken to warn the monkeys. Before the man's corpse could fall to the ground, Ling Xiao had already slashed his dantian into pieces. The inner core exploded, and the energy flowed into Ling Xiao's body. From the beginning to the end, the man didn't even have any reaction, and he had become a dead soul under Ling Xiao's sword. You can all watch, but if anyone dares to attack, he will be the example. Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded out in the air. A violent killing intent was unleashed, and it scared many of the invading warriors, causing their faces to turn pale. Ling Xiao's strength had caused these people to be afraid. No one was able to dodge that sword strike. They kept simulating the scene just now, but they realized that no matter what they did, there was no way they could dodge Ling Xiao's frightening sword strike. That sword strike was simply too fast. It was so fast that no one could react to it, and even if they wanted to dodge, they couldn't. All of them were geniuses from the 300 great kingdoms, but they realized that Ling Xiao's strength had surpassed them by too much. They weren't on the same level at all. I think he's the guy who tied with Bing Xuanji. That's right. I think I saw Ao Fei from the White Dragon Kingdom being beaten away just now. The crowd started whispering to each other. Finally, some people turned around and left. Since they couldn't get the inheritance, why should they waste their time here? Even if they couldn't get the inheritance of a heavenly core warrior, getting the inheritance of an earth core warrior was still a good thing. After all, most of the warriors here were only at the 5th level of the divine core realm, let alone the earth core realm. Even the mortal core realm was still very far away for them. Unless they got the inheritance, they might not be able to break through even after a few dozen years. Many people had left, but there were also many who stayed. Some people were always worried about personal gains and losses. Although they were afraid of Ling Xiao's frightening strength, they didn't want to give up so easily. Such a contradictory mentality was really complicated. The sandstorm was getting smaller and smaller, but the energy coming from Lion Master Fort was getting stronger and stronger. A yellow light covered the entire sky. Every single warrior could feel how powerful the energy was. Finally, after a few hours, someone couldn't stand it anymore. It was as if they had forgotten how the warrior was killed. And it wasn't just one person who couldn't stand it anymore. It was a group of people, a dozen of them. However, their actions were just to set an example for those who would come after them. With just Ling Xiao alone, he had killed a dozen of them with a single strike. Chapter 3953. The energy from the dead men's inner cores flowed into Ling Xiao's body. The energy in Ling Xiao's cultivation had finally been increased by 10%. This was really too slow. Ever since he had broken through to the late 4th divine core realm, he felt that even if he killed a few hundred or even a few thousand men, the energy in his cultivation would only increase by 10% or 20%. Ling Xiao felt that if he wanted to continue increasing his cultivation, he would have to find the secret treasure that belonged to the extreme core realm warrior. He wouldn't give it to anyone, not even his friends. He was a man with principles, women, and treasures. If he wanted something, he wouldn't give it to anyone else. That man didn't find any secret treasure. But why is his strength so terrifying? When the crowd saw Ling Xiao kill a dozen men with a single sword strike, They were so scared that their hearts were trembling violently. These men weren't just some random mob. They were all 5th-level divine core warriors. But they were killed by Ling Xiao so easily, this was unbelievable. It's not over yet? Yi Lingyan looked down. Xiao Baoliu was still absorbing the power of inheritance. It had been more than 5 hours, and it was still not over yet. It looked like this power of inheritance was really powerful. Don't worry, I think it'll take another 3 hours. Ling Xiao looked around. The Tai Chi eye told him the answer. Sure enough, after 3 hours, the sandstorm finally stopped. At the same time, a frightening beam shot out from the ground. It was like a berserk 9 spirits Yuan Lion had pounced out. A figure flew up into the sky along with the golden beam. Right now, Xiao Baoliu had obviously undergone a huge transformation. You've broken through? Xue Lian asked in surprise. That's right, I've broken through. Not only that, my body has also been tempered by the earth force. Now I'm extremely strong. Xiao Baoliu said excitedly. Right now, he looked like a god of war. Just the aura he emitted was enough to shock countless people. Mid-7th divine core realm. This breakthrough is really fast. Just in terms of cultivation, he has already surpassed Bing Xuanji. Ling Xiao exclaimed in his mind. The power of inheritance in this place was really frightening. Brother Ling, it's my turn to protect all of you. The power of inheritance is too vast, and it's not something that I can absorb all by myself. You can all go down and temper your bodies and souls. Liu Xiaobao looked at Ling Xiao and said excitedly, actually, after thinking about it carefully, the inheritance came from a heavenly core warrior. It was definitely not something that could be absorbed by Leo Master Castle alone. Let's go in. Ling Xiao glanced at Lion Master Castle. At this time, Leo Master Bao was already stronger than him in terms of combat strength. Therefore, there was no need to worry at all. Even if he was alone, he would be able to protect them. Dark Frost, Yang Mo, and Yi Lingyan entered and began cultivating. Xue Lian, on the other hand, hesitated. Because he had just joined and hadn't done much, he felt a little embarrassed. You can leave as well. Just as you said, a transaction needs to be fair. You should get some benefits for fighting for us. Ling Xiao glanced at Xue Lian and said, Thank you. Xue Lian excitedly dove down. However, even though the 4 of them were cultivating at the same time, the amount of energy was still enormous. The power of inheritance left behind by a heavenly core warrior couldn't be underestimated. Brother Lion, I'm going down as well. Be careful. Ling Xiao reminded Lion Master Bao, then he jumped down as well. Naturally, the power of inheritance would be of great help to him. Only one person is left behind to guard against us. Are they looking down on us? The crowd started to get restless. Because of Ling Xiao and the others, they didn't dare to act recklessly. But now, the only one left outside was Lion Master Fort. Their suppressed greed had once again become active. What, you want to fight? Leo Master Bao sneered. The Zamadeo in his hand shone brightly. If someone were to take a closer look, they would notice that the Zamadeo had undergone many changes. You should be called the Earthblade now. You've merged with the Earth Core, left behind by a heavenly core warrior. Surprisingly, it had transformed into a weapon that could grow. You've reached the level of a ghost realm soul pearl. Leo Master Bao intimately stroked his treasured blade. Then he looked at the crowd in a domineering manner and said, Come, my blade is thirsty for blood. Who wants to be the first one to die? Hearing Leo Master Bao's domineering words, all the onlookers were unhappy. Did he really think they were trash? How could he kill them just like that? No one dares to come? Then get the hell out of here. You won't be able to find any opportunities by staying here. Instead of wasting your time here, why don't you go somewhere else and search for treasures? Leo Master Bao casually waved his hand and said, carrying the earth blade on his shoulder, he looked majestic. I've given you face, bastard. Let me see what you're made of. Among the crowd, a peak 6th divine core warrior was annoyed. His cultivation wasn't weak, but now he was being ridiculed like this. He couldn't stand it. Besides, Leo Master Bao was the only one here he felt like he had a chance. As long as he could kill Leo Master Bao, he would have a chance to get his hands on the treasures. He coldly harumphed. Then he jumped out from the crowd and leapt towards Leo Master Bao. "Since you're courting death, then let me have a taste of this earth blade." Leo Master Bao had just broken through to the next realm, and he now had the earth blade. He really wanted to find someone to test his blade on. The warrior in front of him was a peak 6th divine core warrior. If this was before, he would be able to cause a lot of trouble to Leo Master Bao. What would happen now? Leo Master Bao was looking forward to it. Holding the earth blade in his hand, Leo Master swung it down. A massive amount of energy gathered on the blade, turning it into a huge blade beam. Roar! The roar in the air came from the 9 spirits lion. Only now did the warrior who leapt towards Leo Master Bao realize how frightening Leo Master Bao was. He tried his best to dodge the attack, but too bad he didn't have the chance to do so. This blade was really frightening. It transformed into the shape of a lion in midair. Then it opened its mouth and swallowed the peak 6th divine core warrior. The man exploded in midair. He was so dead that he couldn't be any more dead. There wasn't even a trace of him left. It had been completely destroyed. So frightening. When the crowd saw this, their eyes were trembling. A peak 6th divine core warrior was killed just like that. Many of them were 5th level divine core warriors. So how are they going to fight this man? Who else wants to give it a try? After killing the man, Leo Master Bao became even more confident. Just now he had casually struck out, and he had killed the peak 6th divine core warrior. If he struck with all his strength, he believed that even a peak 7th divine core warrior wouldn't be his match. He had really struck it rich in this trip to the mystic realm. Hearing Leo Master Bao's words, everyone's expressions turned ugly. This Leo Master Bao was too strong. Chapter 3954. Of course, what was even scarier than Master Lion's strength was the blade of earth in his hand. It was a combination of the earth force and the 9 spirits Yuan Lion's strength. It was extremely powerful, as if it could swallow a person whole, leaving nothing behind. Forget it. Just like what he said, there's no point in waiting here. Let's just leave. Finally, some people gave up. After all, the reality was right in front of them. There was no point in staying here. What else could they do? Wait for their deaths? More than half of them had left. But there were still some stubborn people who didn't want to give up this opportunity. Of course, that was all they could do. They were just watching. They didn't dare to attack. Because Master Lion's strength was just too strong. Master Lion was too lazy to care about these people. Instead, he sat down with his legs crossed and continued consolidating his cultivation. At the same time, he was protecting Ling Xiao and the others. About half an hour later, a few figures suddenly appeared in the distance. One of them was Ao Fei, who had left and returned. But this time, Ao Fei didn't come with the people from the White Dragon Kingdom. There were only 6 people by his side. Including him, there were 7 of them. There were 3 people that Liu Xiaobao knew. They were Bing Xuanji, the 3rd seat of the Ice Palace, Bing Yan, and the 2nd-ranked chief, disciple of the Sea Life Palace, Hai Wuya. Master Lion had seen the other 3 before, but they were just strangers to him. They were the chief disciple of the Wind Empress Nation, Feng Qianchan, the 2nd seat Feng Banyuo, and Han Niezhong from the Western Kingdom. Amongst these people, Bing Yan, Feng Banyuo, and Hai Wuya were all peak 6 divine core warriors. Feng Qianchan and Ao Fei were both early 7th divine core warriors. The scariest one was Han Niezhong. He was a peak 7th divine core warrior. It was exactly the same as Gu Fenghua's cultivation in the past. Besides the 300 great kingdoms, the Western Kingdom had also sent people here to fight for the treasure. It was just that the people they sent were basically a bunch of trash. In the Western Kingdom, Han Miezhong's strength was nothing. But in this place he was the strongest. The reason why these people were willing to come with Ao Fei was because of the heavenly core warrior's inheritance. It was extremely difficult to find the inheritance of a core warrior. Therefore, the inheritance of a heavenly core warrior would become extremely precious. Since he was already here, he couldn't possibly return empty-handed. At this time, other than Ling Xiao, the others had already come out from underground. He completed his cultivation. Dark Frost, Yi Lingyan, and Yang Mo all achieved breakthroughs. Dark Frost had the best potential. She had broken through to the mid-7th divine core realm. Yi Lingyan and Yang Mo had both broken through to the early 7th divine core realm. Only Shuelian had yet to make a breakthrough. Among these people, he clearly felt that his aptitude was too poor. Fortunately, he had also gained something. At the very least, his combat prowess had increased by more than 10 times. His body had also become much stronger than before. Why are they here? Bing Xuanji frowned and turned to leave. If you want the treasures, then go ahead and fight for them. I won't be participating. He didn't want to see Ling Xiao yet. Before he could find a suitable artifact for himself, he had no chance of winning against Ling Xiao. However, Hai Wuya from the Ocean Life Palace and the 3 chiefs of Ice Flame from the Ice Palace didn't plan to leave. This time, the one who came with them was a terrifying existence, like the soul, destroyer loyalty. They didn't believe that Ling Xiao would be able to turn the tables around. We meet again. With a smile on his face, Ao Fei looked at the crowd and said, I've told you before, if I, Ao Fei, want something, I'll get it no matter what. Now, either you hand over all your treasures and give me your inheritance, or you die. What an arrogant tone. Lion Xiaobao burst out into laughter. If you want it, then come and get it yourself. I'd like to see how strong you are. How dare you be so arrogant? That's right, we've spent a lot of effort to find it. We won't give it away so easily. If you want it, then come and get it yourself. I'm afraid you don't have the strength to do so, Yang Mo said with disdain. If that's the case, then we won't hold back. Han Miezhong looked at the ghost domain's soul pearl in Dark Frost's hand, and a greedy look emerged in his eyes. That soul pearl, I'll take it. After saying that, he dashed towards Dark Frost. I want that blood-stained shirt. Feng Qianshan had her eyes on Yi Lingyan's blood-stained shirt. Then the earthen blade will be mine, Ao Fei said with a grin. He had already started imagining himself with the divine dragon whip in his left hand and the earthen blade in his right. That feeling would definitely be great. Let's split the rest among the 3 of us. Wind Empress looked at Hai Wuya and Bing Yan and said, I'll deal with Shuelian. Bing Yan had been suppressed by Shuelian in the Ice Palace for a long time, and he was getting impatient. Now that he had found a reasonable reason to attack, how could he not seize it? As for that man with the golden light sword, let's deal with him together. Feng Bunyuo realized that Yang Mo wasn't easy to deal with, so he suggested to Hai Wuya. No problem. Hai Wuya agreed without hesitation. But even so, both of them had still underestimated Yang Mo's strength. He was holding a rare Heavenly King weapon, the Golden Light Sword. His cultivation had reached the peak 7th divine core realm, and he had merged with the White Water Wolf's inner core. His overall strength had reached a terrifying level. Unfortunately, before Hai Wuya and Feng Bunyuo could attack, Yang Mo had already launched his attack. It was a stunning sword strike. A sword beam pierced through both men's bodies. Hai Wuya and Feng Bunyuo both fell to the ground. Yang Mo followed up with another sword strike, chopping off their heads and crushing their inner cores. When dealing with divine core warriors, the inner cores couldn't be left behind, otherwise they would still have a chance to revive. Yang Mo remembered this very clearly. In the blink of an eye, Hai Wuya and Feng Bunyuo were dead, but this didn't affect the others who were still fighting, especially Han Miezhong, Feng Qianshan, and Ao Fei. These three men were all very strong, so they had nothing to fear. Right at this moment, Dark Frost was being suppressed by Han Miezhong. Both men were soul warriors. It seemed like Han Miezhong could always suppress Dark Frost. If not for the Ghost Domain's Soul Pearl, perhaps Dark Frost would have already been defeated. Yang Mo dared not delay any longer. He immediately went over to help. With two men fighting one man, the situation was finally stabilized. But a battle like this had given those men who hadn't given up yet an opportunity. Swoosh! A figure scuttled underground. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More and more men followed behind him. All these men wanted to take advantage of this battle to gain some opportunities. They knew that Ling Xiao was the only one underground, and Ling Xiao was cultivating. Without anyone protecting him, he wouldn't be able to defend himself from their attacks. Damn it! Seeing this, Lion Master Fort and the other men became anxious. As a result, they were all injured. After all, in a battle between great warriors, especially when the difference in strength wasn't too big, being distracted would give them an opportunity to attack. Don't worry about me. Focus on the battle. Ling Xiao's voice sounded out in their minds. His words calmed their morale. Chapter 3955. There wasn't a human underneath the ground. It was a gigantic beast, and it was devouring the inheritance energy without any hesitation. This giant beast was naturally the Cerberus that Ling Xiao had transformed into. The Cerberus was also an existence of the earth element. It was the most suitable beast to devour the earth element. Who cares what it is? Let's kill it. After the initial fear, the crowd finally regained their senses. Without hesitation, they charged forward and started attacking the Cerberus. Ling Xiao kept sneering. These people were no match for him before this. Now his cultivation had skyrocketed to the peak fourth heavenly core realm. Most importantly, even his physical body had improved to high-grade 7th Order Emperor realm. It was much stronger than any ordinary, rare, heavenly king weapon. Of course, the most important thing was that as the earth element kept pouring into the Cerberus, the power of its ability had also increased. Scorching hell! The terrifying Cerberus spat out 3 words that made everyone tremble. In an instant, magma burst out from the ground. In an instant, it drowned everyone. Everyone was struggling in pain and trying to escape, so they didn't have the time to think about attacking. As for Ling Xiao, he was taking advantage of this last opportunity to absorb the inheritance energy as quickly as possible. This was a treasure. It would be a waste if he didn't absorb it. Even if he couldn't immediately convert it into energy that could increase his cultivation, he could still convert it into his potential. As long as he had his potential and the heart of gold, he was basically invincible. Another 10 minutes passed. Those warriors who charged into the ground left behind dozens of corpses and ran away. Right now, none of them dared to fight for the inheritance energy anymore. Not to mention those treasures. None of them dared to even touch them. It was already good enough that they were able to keep their lives. When Ling Xiao stepped out of the ground, the only people left outside were the experts, battling each other. Shuel Yan and Bing Yan were still fighting. Dark Frost and Yang Mo were fighting against Han Miezhong. Although the Lion Master Fort was suppressing Ao Fei, it was still difficult to determine the winner. As for Yi Lingyan and Feng Qianshan, they were also on par with each other. If Ling Xiao had arrived 10 minutes later, perhaps Dark Frost and Yang Mo would have been defeated. Yi Lingyan, Shuel Yan, go help Dark Frost and Yang Mo. The moment Ling Xiao stepped out of the ground, he had already chosen his opponent. Han Miezhong was very strong. It was almost impossible to kill him in a short period of time. Therefore, he had to kill Feng Qianshan and Ice Flame first. When the two of them heard his words, they both charged towards Han Miezhong. The 4 of them joined forces to deal with Han Miezhong. However, he was still unable to win. Han Miezhong had not unleashed his full strength. After all all confident martial artists were like this. Generally, they would choose to keep one or two trump cards. In this way, it was still possible to deal with unexpected situations. At this moment, Soul Destroyer Loyalty's damage output had obviously increased when facing the four of them. Originally, he had only used 70% of his strength, but now he had increased it to 90%. Once again, they began to gain the upper hand. However, Dark Frost, Yang Mo, and Yiling Yan were not mediocre. If he wanted to win, it would be extremely difficult. Coupled with Shui Lian's sneak attack, even Han Miezhong had to be careful. Ling Xiao noticed this and was no longer worried. Instead, he blocked Feng Qianshan and Ice Flame. This person is not to be trifled with. Be careful, Ice Flame warned. He's just a peak 4th Divine Core Warrior. How strong can he be? Feng Qianshan remained unmoved. She took a step forward and charged towards Ling Xiao. This man possessed the Wind Empress martial soul. It was the martial soul of a mighty warrior from the immemorial era. All the royal families of the Wind Empress possessed similar martial souls. However, some of them had fully awakened their martial souls, while some had only partially awakened their martial souls. As the number 1 genius of the Wind Empress, Feng Qianshan had fully awakened her martial soul. The Wind Empress was able to control the language of the wind and summon the wind and rain. It was an extremely powerful martial soul. Those who possessed this martial soul would inherit part of this ability. I can't fall behind either. Ice Flame also charged forward. In his opinion, Ling Xiao's strength was on par with Bing Xuanji, and Bing Xuanji was on par with Feng Qianshan. As long as he joined the battle, he would definitely be able to defeat Ling Xiao. If he could kill someone that Bing Xuanji couldn't kill, he would be able to gain glory. How dare a grain of rice compete with the sun and moon? I'll kill you first, so that you won't be an eyesore. Ling Xiao had already recovered his beast soul transformation. He was using the Cerberus beast soul transformation. In this place, the power of this beast soul transformation was not any weaker than the everlasting heavenly rat beast soul. Moreover, he could use the power of the earth, giving him an advantage. A violent and ferocious aura was released from his body. The killing intent caused Ice Flame to tremble, falling plumb clear shadow steps. Ling Xiao took a mystical step and appeared behind Ice Flame in an instant. Demonic blood seal. Then he struck out with his palm. A huge blood-red palm print was imprinted on Ice Flame's back. Boom! The Ice Flame was smashed into nothingness. Blood splattered all over the sky. However, to Ling Xiao's surprise, Ice Flame's inner core did not shatter. It was just a mortal core. It was really surprising that it did not shatter. Are you surprised? Why do you think I dared to stay and fight with you? That's because I also obtained a secret treasure, the Phoenix Blood. Although the secret treasure he obtained could only be used once, it was similar to Ling Xiao's rising from the ashes ability. Not only did the inner core not shatter, it even came back to life from the raging flames. More importantly, Ice Flame's overall strength had increased. From the perfect 6th Divine Core Realm, he had broken through to the early 7th Divine Core Realm. Ha, Ling Xiao, I really need to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to break through and reach such a level. Now, even Bing Xuanji might not be my match. You are fighting 2 people at the same time. Do you think you can defeat us? Ice Flame let out a wild laugh. He and Feng Qianshan attacked together. Although this man and woman were both strong, they knew Ling Xiao was not an ordinary person. Therefore, they didn't mind working together. Ice Flame's attacks were mixed with both ice and fire, causing his opponents to feel extremely uncomfortable. However, the most troublesome one was Feng Qianshan. Feng Qianshan's attacks came with a strange effect. Every time she attacked, she would interrupt Ling Xiao's attacks. This made it impossible for Ling Xiao to attack to his heart's content. Now that these two had joined forces, it was truly troublesome. Wind Empress, the chief disciple of the great nation, you really live up to your name. And you, Ice Flame, you are really good at enduring. I'm afraid you can be considered as the second chief disciple of the Ice Palace. But are you sure you want to be my enemy? If we fight, both of us will suffer great losses. In the end, you will be taken advantage of by others. Ling Xiao stared at the two men and said with a cold voice, "Ha ha ha, are you scared now? Ice Heaven and Fire Earth, kill!" What responded to Ling Xiao was Ice Flame's wild laughter and attack. He didn't think Ling Xiao could defeat both of them. Therefore, he rejected Ling Xiao's suggestion. Attack was his answer. A terrifying whistling sound came from the sky. It sounded like a blizzard was descending from the sky. Raging flames were rolling on the ground as well. The intertwined attack of ice and fire was truly unbearable. Chapter 3956. Ling Xiao looked at the attack and knew that the negotiation had failed. Then there was no need to hold back. Since Feng Qianshan's attack would interrupt his move, then he would use his tyrannical, physical body to destroy these two people. The Black Tortoise Divine Physique, which was a high-grade 7th Order Emperor Realm defensive martial skill, emitted a violent yellow light. Ling Xiao stepped on the ground with one foot and held the sky with one hand. Like the ancient god Pangu, he stood proudly between heaven and earth. Ice Flame's attack couldn't hurt him at all, and it seemed to be tearing him apart. Wind Empress Sword, Gale Tornado. At this moment, Feng Qianshan also attacked. A gust of wind blew, causing the fire to burn more vigorously and the cold air to become even colder. Not only could the wind help the fire, it could also help the ice. The combined power of the two people bombarded Ling Xiao crazily. They wanted to kill Ling Xiao between heaven and earth. However, it was useless. Ling Xiao was like a giant god. Under this violent attack, he didn't move at all. No matter how the other party attacked, he was still unharmed. Although his cultivation wasn't as good as these two people, his physical body was ridiculously strong. Have you played enough? You don't even deserve to tickle me. Bloodthirsty Plague. Ling Xiao finally used the Bloodthirsty Plague. The blood-red light completely enveloped Feng Qianshan and Ice Flame. They could clearly feel that their true essence and blood were being devoured by the virus. Not good. What kind of skill is this? Feng Qianshan was shocked. At this moment, she finally understood that Ice Flame's previous worries were reasonable. This Ling Xiao was definitely not a master to be trifled with. This guy was too strong. What skill? Only you are allowed to have special abilities, but not me? Get out of here. Sky Tyrant Divine Fist. The so-called Sky Tyrant Divine Fist was actually not a great martial skill. It was just an ordinary attack using the power of the Sky Tyrant martial spirit. However, its power was comparable to a 7th rank Emperor class martial skill. It was that strong. Ice Fire Kill. Ice Flame punched out with both fists, blocking Ling Xiao's attack. On both arms, the power of ice and fire intertwined, and it was also very fierce. However, it was useless. In the face of Ling Xiao's Sky Tyrant Divine Fist, this attack was simply crushed like breaking rotten wood. Die. Not only did this punch shatter the Ice Flame attack, but it also broke through the barrier of space. It landed heavily on Ice Flame's chest. Ice Flame's ribs were completely shattered and his chest caved in. Let's see how much phoenix blood you have left to revive. Ling Xiao sneered and was about to swing his fist again to kill the Ice Flame. But at this moment, Feng Qianshan's attack came. The sword was as fast as the wind, and it directly pierced towards Ling Xiao's vital point. So what if I take a hit from you? Ling Xiao didn't even look at it. He just shifted his body slightly. He avoided the vital parts. Feng Qianshan's long sword stabbed into Ling Xiao's body, but it was blocked by the heavenly demonic bone. It was impossible to stab into his internal organs. At this time, Ling Xiao had already killed the ice flame. The poor ice flame only had that one drop of phoenix blood. He thought that since his cultivation had increased, his strength would definitely be stronger than Bing Xuanji. From today onwards, perhaps the Ice Palace would respect him. However, his greed was insatiable, and he wanted to kill Ling Xiao to prove his strength. In the end, he was killed by Ling Xiao. Regret. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Death was death. Even if he was unwilling, it was useless. Next, it's your turn. After killing the ice flame, Ling Xiao didn't plan to stop. Feng Qianqian's long sword stabbed into his body, but it was caught by the heavenly demonic bone and couldn't be pulled out. But this sword was extremely important to Feng Qianqian. She couldn't bear to give it up. It was that moment of hesitation that caused her to become Ling Xiao's next target to be killed. Ling Xiao turned around and blasted out a palm. It directly hit Feng Qianqian's head. He didn't have any intention of showing mercy to the fairer sex. The chief disciple of the Wind Empress Kingdom was smashed by Ling Xiao's palm and turned into a gust of wind to escape. This woman has the Wind Empress martial spirit, and her cultivation is stronger than mine. Her speed is much faster than mine. But do you think you can dodge my attack with speed? Ling Xiao sneered and directly took out the profound theory bow. This is a mortal grade, heavenly king, artifact, divine bow. He knocked a frost arrow and shot it out. The speed of the arrow was much faster than Feng Qianqian's speed. It directly hit Feng Qianqian's headless body. Then her body was frozen by the bone-chilling cold. Although it was only for a moment, Ling Xiao's speed was enough to catch up. Die. Since the two sides had already fought, Ling Xiao would never let this woman leave. So what if she is the Wind Empress Kingdom? He didn't put her in his eyes at all. After this trip to the mystic realm, he was ready to go to the Western Kingdom. With his current cultivation, it was more than enough to go to the Western Kingdom. Besides, the trip to the mystic realm was not over yet. He should still be able to get more and better things. Boom! The ice block was shattered. Feng Qianqian's body also fell apart, and she died tragically on the spot. It was a pity that this woman, as the chief disciple of the Wind Empress country, joined forces with other experts in order to seize the treasure. But in the end, she couldn't even escape unscathed and lost her life here. Damn, she escaped so fast. The moment Ling Xiao killed Feng Qianqian, Ao Fei waved the dragon god whip and tore through the void to escape. This guy was also cunning. When he saw that the situation was not good, he directly left Han Miazhong behind. Han Miazhong was indeed powerful. He was able to injure Shuai Lian and Yi Lingyan in a 1 versus 4 situation. Even Dark Frost's soul was slightly injured. What a pity. It seems that I can't complete the treasure hunt today. Han Miazhong saw the current situation and knew that there was no hope. He was fighting 1 against 4, although he still had the upper hand. But the 2 strongest people on the other side had now freed up their hands, and he couldn't leave at this time. Only death awaited him. Dragon Trapping Talisman. Just as Han Miazhong was trying to escape, Ling Xiao used the Dragon Trapping Talisman. Ao Fei escaped. Do you really think you can escape as well? Ling Xiao stared at Han Miazhong with an indifferent expression. Buddy, when it's possible to let people off, one should spare them. If I fight with all my strength, even if I die here, one of you will be killed as well. Do you think it's worth it to fight to the death like this? Han Miazhong felt that he was being underestimated. Indeed, he was no match for these men, but it wasn't a problem for him to kill 1 or 2 of them. Fight to the death? Do you really think you'll have the chance? Ling Xiao sneered. Indeed, with your peak 7th divine core strength, none of us are your match. But if we join forces, the situation will be completely different. Do you really think you'll have the chance to hurt anyone? I think you're the leader of these men. If that's the case, I'll kill you first. Han Miezhong coldly harumphed. He turned into a blur and leapt toward Ling Xiao. Chapter 39:57. Han Miezhong had made the biggest mistake in his life, and that was to sneak attack Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao might not be able to kill him by himself, but he would never be able to kill Ling Xiao. If he attacked someone else, he might be able to escape, but attacking Ling Xiao, who had such a strong body, was just too stupid. Kill! Ling Xiao didn't back off. Instead, he punched out with both fists, colliding with Han Miezhong's fists. The fists exploded. Han Miezhong was forced back 4 to 5 steps, and although Ling Xiao was forced back 7 to 8 steps, he was still able to stop him. Right at this moment, the attacks from the others had caught up. Dark Frost's Eye of Fear, Yi Lingyan's Blood, Cloak Kill, Lion Master Bao's Earthblade, and Yang Mo's Golden Light Sword. Aside from the injured Xue Lian, everyone else unleashed a fierce attack. All of them landed heavily on Han Miezhong's body. Han Miezhong was blocked by Ling Xiao, so he didn't have time to defend himself. He could only hastily defend himself. As a result, his body was instantly torn apart. For some unknown reason, he was dismembered in a daze. Swoosh! A streak of black light flew into the distance. Ling Xiao, I'll remember you. It was Han Miezhong's voice. In the end, he had escaped. Although he only had his inner core left, as long as he wasn't dead, he still had a chance to make a comeback. Don't chase a cornered enemy. Seeing Lion Master Bao was about to chase after him, Ling Xiao stopped him. We can't catch up to him. The inner core's flying speed is faster than my golden light art. He is indeed a mighty warrior like Gu Fenghua. Even at the last moment, he still has a way to save his life. He escaped. I'm afraid he'll be in trouble for us, Yi Lingyan said with a frown. Don't worry, we just need to kill him before we leave the secret realm. The Western Kingdom has sent a total of 4 men here, and this Han Miezhong is the strongest. He won't be defeated so easily. If he can't get the inheritance of a heavenly core warrior, he will definitely search for the inheritance of an extreme core warrior. As long as we kill him, what happened here won't spread. Ling Xiao will absolutely not let Han Miezhong go, because he is going to the Western Kingdom, strong country. If he killed the martial artists of the Western Kingdom's powerful countries, then the situation would not be good. The safest situation would be to kill Soul Destroyer Loyalty, so that there would be no evidence. However, this battle was still considered a great victory for them. He had killed the first Seatfeng Qianqian and the second Seatfeng Bunyuo from the Wind Empress, Great Nation. He had also killed the third Seat Bingyan from the Ice Palace and the first Seat Hai Wuya from the Ocean Life Palace, seriously injuring the Western Kingdom's strongest person who entered here, Soul Extinguisher Zhong. No matter how one looked at it, it was a great victory. After killing these people, the energy in Ling Xiao's Sea of Cultivation increased by another 10%, although it was really slow. However, he was now a peak 4th divine core warrior. As long as the energy in his cultivation sea reached 100%, he could break through again. These people also have some good things in their storage rings. Although they can't use them, the Celestial Empire can use them. Therefore, Ling Xiao stuffed all of them into his Dongxing Emperor Ring. Where to next? Lion Xiaobao asked. Ling Xiao was too strong and he had great foresight. Unknowingly, everyone started to follow his lead. According to my calculations, among the 7 heavenly core warriors' inheritances, there is only 1 left. As for the extreme core warrior's inheritance, we still don't have any clues. Our goal is the last heavenly core warrior's inheritance. No matter who obtains it, it will greatly increase our overall strength. After saying that, Ling Xiao looked at Xue Lian, then he tossed him a healing pill and said, "Eat it, you'll be fully healed soon." Without hesitation, Xue Lian swallowed the healing pill. After that, he cupped his fist and said, "Everyone, it's been a pleasant cooperation, but I'm still from the Ice Palace. Bing Yan has been killed, and Bing Xuanji is now acting alone. I have to meet up with the others from the Ice Palace. Ling Xiao nodded his head. Xue Lian was a straightforward man. Although he said he was a businessman, he was actually a man who valued friendship and loyalty. Thank you. After Xue Lian left, Dark Frost suddenly looked into the distance and cried out, "It's here!" Although she didn't say anything, the others could feel it. Dark Frost must be talking about the last Heavenly Core Warrior's inheritance. The Xuanji Martial Soul. Ling Xiao sensed the power of the Xuanji Martial Soul, and he couldn't help but furrow his brows. Looks like Bing Xuanji was the first to discover this inheritance. Let's go and have a look. Bing Xuanji's Xuanji Martial Soul was very special. Ling Xiao had thought about it before, but he didn't have enough strength to defeat Bing Xuanji. That was why he gave up on it. Now that he had found the trace of the Xuanji Martial Soul, he wouldn't let it go. In his opinion, the Xuanji Martial Soul was even more tempting than any of the Heavenly Core Warrior's inheritances. Right at this moment, at the place where the energy was released, Bing Xuanji had completed the final fusion. Around him were dozens of corpses of martial artists. Bing Xuanji's personal strength was stronger than Ao Fei and Feng Qianqian. Now that he had obtained the inheritance, his cultivation had reached the peak 7th Heavenly Core Realm. He had reached the level of Han Miezhong. He was so strong that it was suffocating. Finally, I've found it. Ling Xiao, it's time for you to die. But before I kill you, I really want to take a look at the master of this secret realm, the place where the ultimate core warrior was buried. The moment he obtained the inheritance, he knew that all 7 heavenly core inheritances had been found by someone else. 7 strange-looking stars suddenly appeared in the sky. These 7 stars were refined into the shape of a strange long sword. Everyone saw it. Those who were smart understood what the 7 stars represented. Perhaps it meant that all the inheritances of the heavenly core warriors had been found. Then the inheritance of the ultimate core warrior, the master of the secret realm, would also be revealed. Forget it, I'm not going there. All of a sudden, Ling Xiao stopped talking. Looking at the 7-star longsword in the sky, he knew that the last heavenly core warrior's inheritance had been found by someone else, and it was most likely Bing Xuanji. Instead of wasting time, he might as well search for his last hope, the inheritance of the master of the secret realm. It was the inheritance he had always wanted. The ultimate core warrior was obviously the leader of the 7 heavenly core warriors. He had obtained a lot of benefits from the ancient emperor of Dongsheng. That was why he knew how powerful the inheritance left behind by an ultimate core warrior was. But the inheritance left behind by each warrior was different. Some were inner cores, some were bloodlines, some were magical treasures, and some were martial skills. There were many more. But without a doubt, the stronger the warrior was, the more precious the inheritance left behind. But how are we going to find it? Dark Frost asked. Although the 7-star longsword is connected, it doesn't have a clear direction. We have no idea where to look. I have an idea. Yang Mo suddenly said. You have an idea? Chapter 3958. Our family has a set of Heaven's divination technique that allows me to sense where the energy is the strongest within a range. I think the place of inheritance of the master of the secret realm must be the place with the strongest energy. Yang Mo replied, Give it a try. Ling Xiao said, Got it, big brother Ling Xiao. Yang Mo nodded and began to use the Heaven's divination technique. A moment later, he opened his eyes and looked in one direction. There should be a 70% chance that it's in that direction. It's the place of inheritance of the master of the secret realm. Everyone turned their heads to look and were somewhat surprised. That place was actually next to the power of the earth that they might have felt before, and it was very close. It was as if it had overlapped. Interesting. It seems that the place of inheritance of the master of the secret realm should be next to the tomb of the earth powerhouse. This expert had always been protecting his master. He was truly loyal and devoted. However, even I didn't expect that the place of inheritance of the master of the secret realm would be next to the tomb of this powerhouse. I guess the others have also overlooked it. Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh. Yes, this might be called unexpected. Who would have thought that this most unlikely place would be the place of inheritance? Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's go back and take a look. Ling Xiao was the first to rush out. When he returned, it was already empty. The power of the earth here had been completely devoured by Ling Xiao, and there was no longer anything attractive. Naturally, no one would come here again. It should be right. This is the place. Yang Mo wandered around the tomb of the earth powerhouse and felt it even more clearly. Perhaps it was hidden by the power of the earth before, so we didn't notice it. But now I can be sure that this energy came from underground. Underground? In other words, the place of inheritance of the master of the secret realm is not next to it, but under the tomb of the earth powerhouse? Lion Xiaobao asked. Or, to be more precise, this tomb of the earth powerhouse is actually the entrance to the place of inheritance. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "We've finally taken the initiative." With that, he directly jumped down the deep crack. This was what they had created before, but who would have thought that these cracks would be used again? Ling Xiao, Lion Xiaobao, Dark Frost, Yilingyan, and Yang Mo arrived below. At this moment, Yang Mo's Heaven's divination technique was no longer of much use. He could only sense the strength of the energy, but he was unable to determine the location of the entrance. However, this was not a problem for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao activated his Taiji Eye and quickly discovered a huge teleportation gate. However, there was no luster on the portal, which meant that it had not been activated. Another teleportation gate. Could it be a world within a world? Ling Xiao had seen such a world within a world before, so he quickly made a judgment. He blasted the rubble away, revealing the portal. At this moment, a golden light soared into the sky. It merged with the long sword formed by the 7 stars in the sky. Everyone looked up and saw a very shocking scene. At this moment, there was a huge phantom in the sky. The phantom exuded the domineering aura of a king, holding the long sword formed by the 7 stars, looking down majestically. This scene was not only seen by Ling Xiao and them, the people in the distance also saw it. Oh no, now everyone knows that the situation here is strange. Ling Xiao could not help shaking his head and smiling bitterly. Looks like the master of this mystic realm had the intention of passing down his inheritance to the juniors. That was why he released such a scene, deliberately leading everyone. If it's a blessing, it's not a disaster. If it's a disaster, it can't be avoided. So what if those people come, with the 5 of us joining hands? We're not afraid of not being able to snatch it. Lion Xiaobao said, Her, that's true, but let's look for the mechanism of the teleportation gate first. Ling Xiao smiled, just as Lion Xiaobao said, even if others came, there would be some trouble. But what did they have to fear? Not long after, a large number of martial artists had already gathered here. Ling Xiao shook his head. The teleportation gate actually did not have any mechanism. This made him very confused. Now, almost all the martial artists had gathered here, but the teleportation gate still did not open. Ling Xiao could only wait. He suspected that this teleportation gate was opened for some people. Although most of the martial artists had already arrived, there were still some who had not arrived. Everyone was waiting, and all of them looked very excited. Finally, everyone had arrived. The teleportation gate opened automatically. The blood-red teleportation gate made people feel a little wary. Don't worry. Lion Xiaobao was about to rush in, but he was stopped by Ling Xiao. The situation is unclear. Don't be rash. Not whoever goes in first will get the inheritance. As soon as his voice fell, there were already people rushing in. There were a total of 4 people. However, As soon as these 4 people came into contact with the blood-red teleportation gate, they let out shrill screams. The 4 of them were melted at the same time. They were melted in front of everyone. Oh my God! Fortunately you stopped me. Otherwise I would have died too. Lion Xiaobao's heart still had lingering fear. Fortunately, Ling Xiao stopped him. Otherwise he would have been like those people. Was this a teleportation gate? It felt like they were walking to their deaths. Who is it? Ling Xiao looked at the crowd, puzzled. He believed that this teleportation gate was opened for 1 or a few people, and it was not a gate of death. It just didn't want others to go in. But there were thousands of people here, and it was not easy to determine who it was. What are you doing? Ah! Suddenly, someone in the crowd flew up and was thrown directly toward the teleportation gate. Poor man, like the 4 people before him, was also melted. Ling Xiao noticed that it was Ao Fei who made the move. That guy probably thought of the teleportation gate's characteristics like him and was using other martial artists to test it. After Ao Fei made his move, Bing Xuanji and the other experts also made their move. The scene suddenly became chaotic. Let's not panic. We just need to protect ourselves and let them kill each other. Pay attention to the teleportation gate, Ling Xiao reminded. Okay, Dark Frost and the others nodded. They stared at the teleportation gate. Finally, at a certain moment, the teleportation gate turned blue. 1 person went through the teleportation gate and entered inside. Let's go. At that moment, Ling Xiao was the first to rush out, and the others followed behind. The moment the teleportation gate turned blue, Ling Xiao saw an unfamiliar figure. However, this person had a very familiar aura. Han Miezhong. He actually chose to forcibly take over? Ling Xiao frowned. It seemed that there would be a bloody battle between him and Han Miezhong. As Han Miezhong opened the teleportation gate, the others rushed inside frantically. Han Miezhong is from the Sword Spirit City of the Western Kingdom. Could it be that the owner of this secret realm is also from the Sword Spirit City? Ling Xiao looked around. This was a majestic city. Chapter 3959. The moment he passed through the portal, Ling Xiao found that only Dark Frost was left beside him. Most likely, this teleportation gate could also randomly teleport cultivators to different places. Coincidentally, he and Dark Frost appeared in the same place. There were more than 1,000 people with them. Yi Lingyan, Shi Xiaobao, Yang Mo, and Shuai Lian were nowhere to be seen. At this time, there was a river in front of them. The river water was as black as ink. At first glance, one could tell that it was not ordinary water. There was no bridge over this river. On the other side was the entrance to the depths. If they wanted to go over, they could only choose to pass through this long black river. This water is not good water. I'm afraid it's dangerous. Ling Xiao opened his Tai Chi eye and carefully looked at the black river water. The legendary yellow spring was this color, and it could swallow people. For the treasure, I'll risk it. He was very cautious, but it did not mean that others were cautious. Just as he was observing the yellow spring river, more than a dozen people had already jumped over. They tried to cross the river directly. However, what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. When these people flew over the yellow spring river, they fell straight down and were swallowed by the terrifying yellow spring river. After a while, they turned into bones floating on the water surface. This scene frightened everyone, and they did not dare to do anything. They were all trembling with fear. Oh no, this river is a little strange. It seems that we can't fly through it. The problem is that the water is so corrosive. I guess we'll be turned into bones as soon as we enter. Someone exclaimed. Not necessarily. Since the palace is opposite, it means that there must be a way to pass through. The owner of this secret realm is the former city, Lord of Sword Spirit City. I think that when sword chi is cultivated to a certain level, it can resist the corrosion of the river water. Someone analyzed. But even so, because of the example just now, no one dared to rashly try. Dark Frost, go into the Dong Sheng Emperor. I'll try. Ling Xiao could not be blocked by a river. He had analyzed it with his Tai Chi eye. In fact, what that person said was right. The river water was extremely corrosive and could swallow living things in the air. But as long as he had a strong sword chi, he could block the suction force and easily pass through. Therefore, he decided to give it a try. In any case, even if something did happen, he still had life reversal and fiery rebirth. It was absolutely impossible for him to lose his life. Dark Frost looked at Ling Xiao nervously. Don't worry. Don't you know me? I won't try things that I'm not sure about. Ling Xiao smiled. Suddenly, sword light bloomed all over his body. His entire body seemed to be wrapped in sword light, releasing an extremely sharp aura. Many of the surrounding martial artists were startled, and they quickly moved away. Is he going to try? Everyone looked at Ling Xiao nervously. He wondered if Ling Xiao would succeed. If he succeeded, it meant that his previous guess was right. This was not an absolute dead end. However, if he wanted to go over, he would need to have sufficient strength. Ling Xiao stepped onto the Yellow Springs River. Boom! At that moment, the terrifying Yellow Springs water rushed towards him like a ferocious beast, wanting to swallow him whole. However, just as the river water approached the sword light, as if it had encountered its nemesis, it immediately collapsed. A smile appeared on Ling Xiao's face. Not only could the Yellow Springs River not destroy his sword light, but it could also help him temper his body. That was something that he had never thought of. Thus, the group of people saw a shocking scene. Ling Xiao stood in the middle of the Yellow Springs River, and the water around him surged into his body. Not only could it not hurt him, but it was also swallowed like a bottomless pit. At this moment, Ling Xiao looked at those who were blocked by the Yellow Springs River and said, "Those who have not attacked me and my friends can go over. As for the rest, stay where you are. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Really, among the 1,000 or so people, nearly 500 had not attacked Ling Xiao and his companions. Therefore, these people were very surprised. They felt that it was a delicacy that fell from the sky. Of course it's true. I hope that I can muddy the waters. That was also Ling Xiao's heartfelt words. He did not know what dangers were ahead. If only he and Dark Frost went over, the risk would be too great. It was better to find more people to share the risk. Moreover, he was very concerned about one thing. It was obvious that the master of the secret land wanted to leave his inheritance to Han Miezhong. With other people stirring up shit, it would be impossible for Han Miezhong to get the inheritance easily. Of course, there was another reason. He wanted to see the miserable faces of those who had attacked him and his companions. Let's go! The 500 or so people knew that it was an opportunity. Naturally, they did not want to waste it. While Ling Xiao controlled the Yellow Springs River water, they all flew to the opposite side. At this moment, a few familiar figures mixed into the crowd. The few of you get lost. Ling Xiao's expression became terrifying, because the few familiar figures were Shui Wushuang and the Phantom Valley Three Devils. Do the few of you have the face to accept my help? Previously, when we were in danger, you did not help us. Now you actually think that I will help you? Get lost. Don't force me to kill you. Ling Xiao did not give any face to Shui Wushuang and the Phantom Valley Three Devils. He was not a saint. He did not have that kind of benevolent heart. Shui Wushuang's face turned pale. The Phantom Valley Three Devils were also embarrassed. Although they did not attack Ling Xiao and the rest as people from the Eternal Night Palace, they did not care about their companions. Ling Xiao was not willing to help them. It was reasonable. Don't care what he said. He is fighting against the Yellow Springs River water now. It is our chance. Let's go together. If he doesn't agree, kill him. Anyway, he can't spare any hands. Suddenly, a voice came from the crowd. It was an unfamiliar martial artist. Ling Xiao did not know him, but it was obvious that this guy's words were like an accelerant. It made everyone's mind become lively. That's right. Ling Xiao was fighting against the Yellow Springs river water now. How could he be a threat to them? They could go if they wanted to. If Ling Xiao was sensible, they would not attack. But if Ling Xiao was not sensible, then they would not be polite. That's right. It is not up to him to disagree. Someone said, "Are you going to loot a burning house?" Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with ridicule. He said coldly, "I advise you not to attack. I have killed many people today. I am not willing to kill anymore. But if you don't know how to cherish it, then don't blame me for being impolite. I don't have a merciful heart." Humph, don't talk nonsense with him. Pass. One of them snorted coldly and walked towards the opposite shore. This person was from the White Dragon country. He had once attacked Ling Xiao with Ao Fei. Although they did not hurt Ling Xiao, this grudge was formed. How could Ling Xiao let him pass? He flew into the air. The others were also eager to try. Chapter 3960. Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. A cruel grin emerged on Ling Xiao's face. Suddenly, he stirred the yellow spring water with both hands. Canopy Beast Soul, Water Giant. Bang! What stood up from the yellow spring was a giant formed entirely from the water of the yellow spring. The black body stared down at the man coldly. Then it slapped the man with its palm. It was as if he was swatting a fly that was flying past. The terrifying force caused the air to explode, as if it was going to explode at any moment. The man was trembling. It was unknown just how terrifying the power contained in this palm strike was. This caused everyone to tremble with fear. That person had just flown into the air when he saw the Yellow Springs giant's palm strike down. Sensing the terrifying force, he was terrified. He wanted to dodge, but it was as if the giant palm had the ability to devour the water of the yellow spring. He could feel his body being sucked into the giant's palm. Then, like a mosquito, he was slapped onto the ground. The water giant raised its huge hand. On the ground, there was only a pile of broken bones. The man's body had been completely corroded. This guy is so terrifying. Not only can he resist the yellow spring water, he can also unleash such a powerful attack. Everyone's eyes were trembling when they saw this, as if they had just seen a ghost. This giant was really frightening. Not only was it huge, it was also incredibly powerful. With just a single palm strike, it was able to shatter a sixth divine core warrior into pieces. He couldn't be any more dead. So what if he was a genius? He was just a pitiful corpse right now. Is there anyone else who wants to go against me? Ling Xiao looked at the remaining men and asked in a domineering manner. Everyone shook their heads and backed off, as if they were afraid that Ling Xiao would target them. This man was too frightening. There was no way they could fight him. Ling Xiao sneered, but he didn't recall the giant. The giant was still standing there, staring at the crowd with an indifferent expression. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, continued to absorb the energy from the yellow springs, using the water to temper his body, strengthening his cultivation. About 15 minutes later, the giant exploded, and the water of the yellow spring returned to normal. Ling Xiao had also arrived at the other side of the river at the same time. At this moment, the energy in his cultivation had already increased to 30%. The effect was not bad. His black, tortoise divine physique had also risen to peak 7th Order Emperor realm. Another level up. Shui Wushuang, the Gui Gu Three Devils, and the others looked at Ling Xiao's back with envy and jealousy. They were thinking that if they had helped before, they would have been able to do so. Now he could become one of those people. He might even be doing better than many people. One thought to heaven, one thought to hell. Now they could only watch as others left, while they themselves were cut off from the inheritance of the master of the mystic realm. After crossing the Yellow Spring River, as soon as they stepped into a building, They discovered that there were all kinds of precious flowers and trees growing all over the place. Origin core fruit, heavenly dangrass, dragon scale flower. Heavens, how can there be so many heavenly treasures? This is too shocking. While they were still in shock, Ling Xiao waved his hand. Most of the mature exotic flowers and herbs were swept away by him. The rest were all things that he had or didn't need. When everyone saw this scene, although they were a little angry, they didn't say anything. They came because of Ling Xiao. It would be too shameless to fall out with him now. Moreover, Ling Xiao was so strong that they didn't dare to fall out with him. Everyone disperse. There must be more than these treasures. Everyone was unwilling to stay with Ling Xiao and Darkfrost, so they dispersed and went to different forks. This, in turn, helped Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao left a wisp of his soul power on these 500 people. As long as any of them discovered the inheritance of the master of the mystic realm, he would know immediately. Of course, it was the same for Yi Lingyan, Lion Xiaobao, and the others. This was the third reason why Ling Xiao let them in. At the same time, in another entrance of the palace, although the palace had become old because of disrepair, but here there was a faint aura of a king. In such a place, there were 4 forces confronting each other. The first to arrive were the people from the Sword Spirit City of the Western Kingdom. With Han Yezhong as the leader, there were a total of 7 people. There weren't many people, but their overall strength was the most powerful. The master of the mystic realm here was the former city lord of Sword Spirit City. In order to let his disciples obtain his inheritance, the city lord could be said to have painstakingly done so. The second force was the White Dragon Kingdom. With Ao Fei as the leader, they had a large number of people, second only to the Shuiyu Kingdom. Although Ao Fei's strength was not as good as Han Yezhong's, Han Yezhong was heavily injured. Now that he had taken over someone else's body, his strength was obviously not as good as before. Therefore, Ao Fei could still compete with the people of Sword Spirit City with the help of the mystical Dragon Whip. The third force belonged to the Shuiyu Kingdom. At this time, the people of Shuiyu Kingdom were led by Shuelian. Although their number was only 1/3 of the cultivators of Shuiyu Kingdom who entered the mystic realm, it was still a lot. But relatively speaking, they were relatively weak. The reason why they hadn't been destroyed yet, that was because the fourth force could be regarded as their ally. Because the fourth force happened to be Yi Lingyan, Lion Xiaobao, and Yang Mo. These 2 forces combined into one. Their numbers were not small, and their strength was also very strong. The reason why they all appeared here was, of course, for the inheritance of the master of the mystic realm. The building in front of them was the inheritance of the master of the mystic realm. On top of it, 3 words were engraved: Sword Spirit Hall. The master of the mystic realm was the former city lord of Sword Spirit City, so it was not surprising that he would give it such a name. The Sword Spirit Hall was closed by a thick bronze door. Inscriptions were released from it. Obviously, it was protected by a spirit array. It was definitely not something that ordinary people could open. We can't always be stuck here, right? Although your Western Kingdom's Sword Spirit City is strong. After all, there are only 7 people. It's better for everyone to rely on their own ability, and whoever can get the inheritance. How about it? Ao Fei said. Anyway, with us here, even if your Sword Spirit City people know the way to open this Sword Spirit Hall, it won't be so easy, right? I have an even better suggestion. Han Yezhong suddenly said coldly, let's join forces and destroy those people. He hated Lion Xiaobao and the others to the bone. Previously, it was these people who joined forces with Ling Xiao to seriously injure him to the point where his body couldn't recover. He had to rely on other people's bodies, which caused his strength to drop a lot. If he didn't kill these people, he would never give up. What if, after killing them, you attack my White Dragon Kingdom? Ao Fei was not an idiot. The current situation was very delicate. Although he was also unhappy with Lion Xiaobao and the others, But with the existence of Lion Xiao Bao and the others, the people of the Western Kingdom didn't dare to act rashly. Brother Ao, why don't I join you? Chapter 3961. Everyone looked over and saw Bing Xian Ji come in with some other people from Shuiyu. But they didn't see the three demons, or Shui Wu Shuang. Ha ha ha! Bing Xian Ji, you are really shameless. You are joining hands with outsiders to deal with your own people? But I like it. Ao Fei laughed. Our own people? No. They are all traitors of Shuiyu. It is only right to eliminate traitors. Bing Xian Ji looked at Shui Lian and the others indifferently. There was no friendship between them, only killing intent. He hated Shui Lian and hated those people for following Shui Lian and joining Ling Zhao's group. So he had to kill them. Otherwise, he couldn't eliminate the hatred in his heart. Well, no matter what the reason is, if we join hands, Western Heaven can't do anything to us. I agree with Han Niezhong's proposal. Let's kill those people first. They have a lot of treasures on them. Even if we can't get the inheritance of the master of the sealed world in the end, it's not bad to get those treasures. Ao Fei finally agreed with Han Niezhong's proposal. White Dragon Country, Sword Spirit City, and Shuiyu Country, led by Bing Xian Ji, finally reached an agreement. Although they had their own plans, they all regarded Lion Master Bao and the others as enemies. In an instant, they surrounded them. Shui Lian, Lion Master Bao, Yang Mo, Yiling Yan, and the cultivators of Shuiyu Country who followed Shui Lian. They were all surrounded. Lion Master Bao's eyes flashed with a sneer. His actions had always been very direct. Without saying a word, the earth blade in his hand slashed out. A few screams came from the crowd. 4 of Bing Xian Ji's people and the cultivators of White Dragon Country were killed at the same time. Attack! At this time, Lion Master Bao roared. His golden armor was surging with fighting intent. Were they afraid of fewer people? They weren't afraid before, and they weren't afraid now. Kill! Yiling Yan also moved. At the same time, she turned into a blood-red light and rushed into the enemy camp. Sword! Yang Mo waved his hand, and a beam of sword light landed in his hand before bouncing off. It instantly pierced a person's throat and continued to attack. Let's also attack. Shui Lian held his blood-red sword and ordered the cultivators of Shuiyu Country who followed him. If he didn't make a move now, he would only be surrounded like a dumpling. Either you die or I live. This battle won't end so easily. Soon, several holes were torn in the encirclement. After all, other than the 7 experts from Sword Spirit City, Ao Fei, and Bing Xuanji, the rest of the people couldn't withstand the attacks of these guys. These few people's strength had all made great progress after entering the mystic realm. Not only had their cultivation improved, but they also had treasures in their hands. A bunch of good-for-nothings. The people of Sword Spirit City did not care about the warriors who had been killed. In their eyes, dead people were trash. Everyone, don't hold back. Since we've decided to join forces, let's quickly get rid of these fellows. Otherwise, if Ling Xiao appears, I'm afraid things won't be easy. Han Niezhong hated and feared Ling Xiao. He couldn't understand why Ling Xiao was so terrifying. His cultivation was clearly much lower than his, but with just the strength of his physical body, he was able to block his attack. Therefore, he couldn't wait for Ling Xiao to appear. As soon as he said that, Ao Fei and Bing Xuanji frowned. They obviously knew how powerful Ling Xiao was. Kill! The experts finally decided to join forces. Ao Fei swung the Dragon God Whip, and the space began to distort. This whip was aimed at Xiao Lion Bao. His intention was clear. He wanted to get rid of Xiao Lion Bao first, because Xiao Lion Bao was the strongest among these people. Xiao Lion Bao had no choice but to wave the earth blade in his hand to resist the Dragon God Whip. At this moment, Bing Xuanji also made his move. The magic treasure he obtained was actually a block of ice that was sparkling and translucent. This ice cube floated beside his body. It suddenly released a cold aura. This aura was much stronger than the aura released by the goddess of ice. In an instant, Xiao Lianbao's movements became stiff. The others were also restrained. "I'll kill him." Han Miazhong also made his move. A violent soul force burst out from his body. Then it turned into a black soul beast and charged toward Xiao Lianbao. He wanted to get rid of Xiao Lianbao first. Then he could kill the others later. Damn it! Xiao Lianbao was surrounded by 3 great warriors, and he was at the end of his rope. If he was hit by Han Miazhong's attack, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Humph. Let's see who can kill him. Suddenly, a thunderous voice sounded out from afar. After that, a terrifying aura that belonged to a ferocious beast could be felt. This aura didn't feel like it came from a human. It felt like it came from an ancient heaven-devouring beast. It would devour anyone who dared to stop it. Han Miazhong was startled by the voice. Although his combat strength had decreased, he was still equivalent to a late 7th Divine Core Warrior. But after hearing Ling Zhao's roar, he was so scared that he almost gave up on attacking. At that moment, he had a feeling that if he attacked, he would be killed by Ling Xiao at the same time. "I'm Han Miazhong, I'm Han Miazhong." Han Miazhong gritted his teeth, and a ferocious aura suddenly rose in his mind. Fight! He had to kill Xiao Lianbao. He had to make Ling Xiao regret it. He had to make Ling Xiao suffer. Bang! His attack was still unleashed. But the attack didn't hit Xiao Lianbao's body. It was blocked by another terrifying soul force, and both attacks canceled each other out in midair. The one who attacked was Dark Frost. At the same time, Ling Zhao's sword had stabbed into Han Miazhong's body. "I'm sorry, my comrade." Han Miazhong had already thought of a way to escape. He suddenly grabbed his comrade and blocked Ling Zhao's frightening attack, which felt like it came from an ancient beast. At that moment, everyone saw a dazzling sword light that was suffocating to the point of suffocation. Not only was the sword beam shining brightly, it was also ferocious. It was like a ferocious beast. The early 7th Divine Core Warrior, who was used as a shield by Han Miazhong, was instantly devoured by the sword beam. The sword beam had completely shredded his body into pieces. The energy had also merged with Ling Zhao's body. The most frightening thing was, even though Han Miazhong had used this man as a shield, his body was still impaled by the brutal sword beam. His body was sent flying backwards, and he crashed into the entrance of the Sword Soul Palace. Blood splashed out. Blood splashed onto the door. A blood-red light was blinking. The door that couldn't be broken open was slowly opening at this moment. What a frightening attack! What kind of monster is this Ling Xiao? But now that the door is open, we don't have time to waste on them. Let's enter the palace. Everyone realized that an opportunity had arrived. When the Sword Soul Palace opened, it meant that the inheritance of the Secret Realm's master was about to appear. Han Miazhong was the first to enter, because he was the closest to the door. Chapter 3962. The second one to enter the Sword Spirit Palace was Ao Fei. In order to enter the Sword Spirit Palace to fight for the treasure, Ao Fei even abandoned his comrades. The next one to enter was Bing Xuanji. Bing Xuanji's method was no different from Ao Fei's. When needed, a comrade would be a comrade. When not needed, a comrade would become a burden. "Brother Ming Xuang, thank you. If you hadn't come in time, I would have lost my life here," said Yi Futian. Liu Xiaobao smiled bitterly. "You have thick skin. You won't die." Ling Xiao looked at Liu Xiaobao and said with a smile, "Let's not waste time. Let's go in. We can't let them get the inheritance of the secret realm master. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble." Yes, everyone walked into the palace. But what made everyone dumbfounded was that there was a door inside. They could see the traces of the door being opened, but it was already closed. There were also bloodstains left behind by Han Miazhong. Damn it, he even tricked us. Ao, Fei, and Bing Xuanji looked at each other, feeling depressed. They were tricked by Han Miazhong. What do we do now? It seems that only Han Miazhong's blood can open the door. No one else can. Everyone became anxious. Only Ling Xiao stared at the door in silence. At the same time, Han Miazhong was the only one left in the inner palace. Apart from a coffin, there was nothing else in the inner palace. The coffin was made of transparent crystal. One could see that the corpse inside was still in the same state as when he died. The former city master of Sword Spirit City was killed by someone with a sword. There was an obvious wound on his throat. But who killed him? Who sent him into the crystal coffin? No matter what, the corpse in the coffin made Han Miazhong somewhat afraid, even though the city master of Sword Spirit City had been dead for many years. But his past terror was still passed down in Sword Spirit City. Han Miazhong knelt in front of the crystal coffin and kowtowed 9 times. The lid of the coffin slowly opened. The corpse in the coffin actually sat up. Frightened, Han Miazhong took a few steps back and almost fell to the ground. Right at this moment, the door to the inner hall actually opened. A group of people barged in. But when they saw the Sword Spirit City Lord sitting up, they all bowed their heads. Only Ling Xiao remained standing there, his eyes filled with coldness and disdain. Although the Sword Spirit City Lord was powerful, in the end he was only one of the city lords of the 108 cities in the Western Kingdom. Ling Xiao had the aura of a sovereign personage. In this mystic world, even the king of sovereigns in the immortal court continent couldn't make him kneel, not to mention the city lord of Sword Spirit City. Damn it, how did you guys get in? Han Miazhong had yet to obtain the treasure when he discovered that someone had barged in. He immediately turned pale with fright. Don't worry about how he got in. You must have obtained the inheritance of the master of the arcane realm, right? What is it? Bloodline? Martial spirit? Magic treasure or something else? No matter what it is, you must hand it over or die. Ao Fei looked at Han Miazhong, revealing a greedy and ferocious expression. He was sure that Han Miazhong had been here for so long he must have obtained the inheritance. Otherwise, why would the corpse in the coffin be sitting? Why would the lid of the coffin be open? What a joke! I, Han Miazhong, need to give you what I got. Han Miazhong was such a proud person. He naturally wouldn't admit that he didn't have time to take anything. To him, that was too shameful. Is it true? Do you think that with your strength, you can contend against so many of us? Even your companions in Sword Spirit City won't help you at this time. Just hand over the thing obediently. That way, you can still save your life. Ao Fei sneered. Han Miazhong glanced at the other 6 people in Sword Spirit City. Previously, he used his companions as shields to block Ling Xiao's attack, and then he abandoned his companions and entered the inner hall alone. He wanted to take the treasure for himself. This made him the target of public criticism, even if he was the leader of Sword Spirit City before. But at this moment, he was no longer. Ha 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 ha. Come, I want to see who dares to make a move. After all, Han Miazhong had his own pride. He was arrogant, he was confident. He thought that he could fight against everyone, just like Ling Xiao. However, he was different from Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao wouldn't betray his companions, so there would always be people around him to help him. But Han Miazhong was unscrupulous for his own interests. In the end, it caused him to be betrayed. Ling Xiao didn't care about their conversation. He could see that Han Miazhong didn't get anything. So he entered the shadow warrior form and approached the coffin. He was ready to take advantage of the chaos to do what he wanted to do the moment the battle began. Kill him. The treasure must be in his storage ring. Ao Fei was the first to make a move. He waved the dragon god whip in his hand and a dragon god's shadow hovered in the void. It let out a terrifying cry. The space was torn inch by inch, approaching Han Miezhong. At the same time, the people of White Dragon Country, Shuiyu Country, and Sword Spirit City also made a move. These people all had their own ideas. Everyone wanted to be the leader of their own forces. Why was it Ao Fei? Why was it Bing Xuanji? Why was it Han Miezhong? As long as they obtained the inheritance of the master of the secret realm, they could also become the most outstanding at that moment. They could make people worship them. It had to be said that Han Miezhong was really strong. He didn't have any special treasure in his hands. However, anyone who got close to him would basically die an unnatural death. Except for Ao Fei and the 6 experts of Sword Spirit City, the others were simply not enough. At this moment, Bing Xuanji quietly mixed into the crowd. This guy had always been despicable. This time he probably planned to sneak attack. But this had nothing to do with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao looked at the corpse in the coffin and couldn't help but reveal a trace of coldness. Kill! Taking advantage of the moment when Han Miezhong and Ao Fei exchanged blows, Bing Xuanji finally made a move. The violent ice thorns directly pierced Han Miezhong's body. It was so painful that Han Miezhong screamed miserably. Bastard! He screamed miserably. Unfortunately, he was seriously injured, and it was too late to take revenge on Bing Xuanji. In the crowd, Lion Master Bao also made a move. The earth blade chopped down. Han Miezhong's hand with the storage ring was directly cut off. It fell to the ground. A group of people rushed towards the storage ring. Because if Han Miezhong really obtained the treasure, it must be in the storage ring. The crazy people rushed towards the storage ring and started to kill each other again. Everyone knew that if they got the storage ring and ran away in the chaos, it could change their fate for the rest of their lives. However, the person who cut off Han Miezhong's hand didn't look at the storage ring. Instead, he attacked Han Miezhong. Chapter 3963. One slash directly pierced through Han Miezhong's dantian. The shattered inner core floated in the air. Han Miezhong looked at Lion Master Bao in shock. His eyes were filled with disbelief and confusion. You want to kill me? I'll let you know that my Lion Master Bao is not to be trifled with. Lion Master Bao was almost killed by Han Miezhong before. If Ling Xiao hadn't appeared in time to save him, he would probably have become a corpse. Now he had taken revenge. Although he was an honest person, he knew that he should make a move when it was time. If others wanted to kill him, he would kill them. At that moment, Han Miezhong was in despair. He had taken over someone else's body with great difficulty and thought that he could start all over again. He was the strongest person who had stepped into the mystic realm. However, he died here. It was really unbelievable. It was also difficult to accept. But whether he accepted it or not, he had to die. His body was shattered and his inner core cracked. If he didn't die, who would? On the other side, the people who were fighting for the storage ring didn't care about Han Miezhong's death. They were more concerned about the treasures. As for whether Han Miezhong was killed or not, they couldn't care so much. Where's Brother Ling? After killing Han Miezhong and obtaining his shattered inner core, Lion Master Bao was prepared to give it to Ling Xiao, because he knew that with the inner core, Ling Xiao's cultivation might break through. But at this moment, Ling Xiao was nowhere to be seen. Sure. Dark Frost signaled him to be quiet. Since Ling Xiao had disappeared, he must be doing something very important. They were responsible for covering him. There was no need to make a fuss. Lion Master Bao understood and nodded. He didn't say anything else. At this moment, Ling Xiao was beside the coffin, nervously cracking the formation. Before the master of the mystic realm died, he still left behind a powerful formation to protect his body from destruction. If he wanted to explore the secrets of the coffin, he had to crack the formation first. While cracking the formation, Ling Xiao was also observing the corpse that looked like a living person. It was indeed dead. There was no doubt about that. But why did it sit up? And why was it preserved so well? Ling Xiao's gaze caught a string of words at the bottom of the coffin. These words were completely written with special inscriptions. From Ling Xiao's point of view, one must have the blood of Han Miazhong in order to see it. Otherwise, he would have to have a divine ability like his Tai Chi eye. These words made Ling Xiao's expression even gloomier and more ferocious. Actually, the content wasn't that complicated. These were the last words left by the Sword Spirit City's city lord to his descendants. As stated in his last words, every 100 years his descendants would send at least 10,000 geniuses into this place. These people would all die here, and only his descendants would be able to escape through special channels. The dead would become the key to the revival of the Sword Spirit City's city lord. Indeed, every expert who died had the heart to resurrect. Thief God was the same. The Sword Spirit City's city lord was the same. However, the city lord of Sword Spirit City was even more terrifying than the thief god. After reading this paragraph, Ling Xiao suddenly laughed. He laughed coldly. You want us to die with you, right? Then I will destroy you completely. Resurrection. Keep dreaming. He already had an idea, a crazy and bold idea. He absolutely couldn't let this guy come back to life, nor could he let the descendants of the Sword Spirit city lord have an easy time. At this time, the competition for the ring was coming to an end. Bing Xianji successfully obtained the ring. However, when he opened the ring, he found that there was nothing inside except for some spirit stones and talismans. He suddenly realized that they had really wronged Han Miazhong. The storage ring shattered. Everyone looked at this scene dumbfounded. For this storage ring, they had killed each other and left dozens of corpses behind. In the end, this was the result. Ha 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 ha, a bunch of idiots. Lion Xiao Bao laughed happily. He had gotten his revenge and watched a good show, so he was naturally happy. Yes, in order to compete for an almost empty storage ring, they killed each other. I don't know why. Xue Lian also sneered. Seeing his enemies suffer, it was impossible not to be happy. Ao Fei, Bing Xianji, and the others glared at them fiercely. But at this time, without Han Miazhong, they really might not be Ling Xiao's opponents. So, no one dared to do anything. Wait, where is Ling Xiao? Finally, someone realized that there was a key person missing. It was the guy who often surprised people. Boom! Boom! Before they could find Ling Xiao, the whole Sword Spirit Hall suddenly shook violently. Everyone was taken aback. They looked for the source of the shaking. Finally, Bing Xianji used the Xian Ji martial spirit to find Ling Xiao. At this time, Ling Xiao was no longer hiding. After all, the array had been broken. It was impossible for him to continue hiding if he wanted to take the next opportunity. What is he doing? What is he doing? Everyone looked at Ling Xiao, dumbfounded. Ling Xiao's hand was placed on the head of the Sword Spirit City lord. A strange immortal fire was released and wrapped around the corpse. He is crazy. Is he trying to refine the master of the secret realm? Everyone was stunned. Ling Xiao was so bold to be disrespectful to the master of the secret realm. Was he not afraid of retribution? After all, this secret realm was the Sword Spirit City lord's territory. What was he thinking by trying to refine someone else's body? Shocking. Unbelievable. The things that Ling Xiao, this fellow, did were simply unimaginable. Even if the master of the secret realm was dead, the corpse was still intact. However, the corpse was so well preserved that just the residual power was not something that an ordinary person could withstand. Who dared to blaspheme the master of the secret realm? Did they have a death wish? However, no matter how unreasonable they thought it was, but Ling Xiao was still there as if no one was around. The high and mighty corpse of the ultimate core realm seemed to have lost all dignity in front of Ling Xiao, no matter how his flame continued to refine it. It's impossible to refine it. The corpse of an ultimate core realm expert is equivalent to a divine, heavenly emperor artifact. Ordinary flames can't refine it. No, even demonic flames or heavenly flames can't do it. Bing Xuanji shook his head. He never thought that Ling Xiao had an immortal fire. He even had more than one type of divine fire. Boom! The terrifying aura of an expert was suddenly released from the corpse. An afterimage condensed in the void. The terrifying pressure made everyone kneel on the ground, trembling with fear. Although it was just a welcome, although it was only the remnant will of the corpse, it was still extremely powerful, because he was an ultimate core realm expert. Everyone who entered the secret realm had to bow down in front of him. However, Ling Xiao's performance seemed to be different from most people. In the face of such a powerful pressure, Ling Xiao was still standing there calmly. He released the sky Tyrant martial soul. The aura of the human king suppressed the will of the sword spirit city lord. A dead ultimate pale realm expert should just be a good dead person. Even if you want to be resurrected, you shouldn't have schemed against us. You are unlucky to have met me, Ling Xiao. Otherwise, your plan might have succeeded. Chapter 3964. Although the terrifying intent unleashed by the corpse kept attacking Ling Xiao's soul, but it was useless. Nothing happened. The martial soul of Tyrant Heavens devoured the intent completely. It was as if a beam of light had entered the pitch-black universe, disappearing without a trace in an instant. Right at this moment, the corpse of the city lord started to burn. The scene frightened everyone. The only thing they could hear was their own heartbeats. Madman! He's a madman! Ao Fei's face turned pale with fright. Just that terrifying intent alone was enough to make his entire body go soft. If he got any closer, his soul would have been torn apart. But Ling Xiao, this lunatic, was actually able to remain unharmed. Just how did this guy cultivate? How could he have such a powerful soul? Unbelievable. Bing Xuanji was also looking at Ling Xiao. He felt a heavy sense of helplessness. He thought he would be able to kill Ling Xiao with the inheritance of a heavenly core warrior. But he was wrong. Seeing this scene, he knew it. No matter how strong he became, Ling Xiao seemed to be able to become stronger than him. This was the gap between their talents. Kill him. We can't let him succeed. Or else, with his personality, all of us will die. Bing Xuanji suddenly roared. His roar instantly woke everyone up. Yes, they knew Ling Xiao's personality too well. He was the kind of person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. They had attacked Lion Master Bao and the others before this, although they had temporarily given up on attacking because the door of the Sword Spirit Palace had opened. But with Ling Xiao's personality, it was impossible for him to forget this grudge. Kill! Bing Xuanji was the first to rush forward. He activated his goddess of ice martial soul, Xuanji martial soul and divine ice crystal. Follow me. Ao Fei also waved his divine dragon whip and rushed forward. At this moment, they had reached an agreement, because they knew that if they didn't kill Ling Xiao, they would be the ones to die in the end. The other people who were Ling Xiao's enemies also began to attack. Among them, the strongest were the remaining 6 people from Sword Spirit City. The 6 of them watched as the Sword Spirit City's old ancestor was refined into a corpse. How could he endure this? However, the 6 of them didn't have the confidence to deal with Ling Xiao and his companions. But things were different now. With so many people attacking together, they could definitely give it a try. Protect Brother Ling. Lion Xiao Bao roared and soared into the sky. Together with Dark Frost and the others, they stood in front of Ling Xiao. At this time, Ling Xiao was refining the corpse, so he was not in the mood to fight. If he was interrupted, his life might not be in danger, but he would definitely be attacked by the remnant will of the Sword Spirit City Master. He would definitely be injured. They would never allow such a thing to happen. The battle began once again. Ling Xiao turned his head to take a look, but he quickly turned his head back. He believed in his comrades. Therefore, the only important thing for him now was to complete the refinement as soon as possible. He only needed to refine this corpse. He could also participate in the battle. Perhaps it was because he realized that once his corpse was refined, he would never be able to revive. The remnant will begin the strongest resistance. Ling Xiao didn't have it easy either. He couldn't participate in the battle at all. Divine fire, burn for me. Since the immortal fire's refining speed was not fast enough, he used the divine fire. As the divine fire burned, the refining speed was indeed much faster. The impurities were tempered, and only the essence was left in Ling Xiao's hands. Rumble. An even more terrifying roar sounded. It was like an earthquake. It felt like the Sword Spirit Hall was about to collapse. After all, this was the place where the Sword Spirit City Master died. Naturally, he had also left behind some countermeasures. If someone wanted to destroy his physical body, he would not be able to do so. He would destroy this place. Quick, don't hold back, or we will all die here. In the beginning, everyone attacked Lion Xiaobao and the others, but they didn't intend to use their full strength, because they all had their own thoughts. They wanted to save their strength for a while to seize the treasure. But now that the situation had changed, they realized that if they didn't use all their strength to stop Ling Xiao, something terrible must have happened. At that time, it would be too late for them to regret. Too bad, you won't have the chance. Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded out. The shaking of the palace stopped abruptly. Right now, the corpse of the Sword Spirit City Master had disappeared. Only a bright bead remained in Ling Xiao's hand. That's not a core, it's the purest relic. Bing Xuanji cried out in shock. The energy contained in this relic is much purer than a core, and it has many other special effects. Why? Why can he refine such a powerful corpse? This is not fair. Are you afraid? Are you panicking? I can understand how you feel right now, Bing Xuanji. The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled into a cruel sneer. This Bing Xuanji had been going against him since the beginning. Before this, he didn't have the ability to kill Bing Xuanji. But now everything had changed, although his cultivation base was still at the peak 4th Divine Core Realm. But with this relic in his hand, it meant that he had control over everything in the secret realm. All the traps and formations in the secret realm were under his control. In other words, this secret realm had become his home ground, and the others were just players. If he wanted to kill them, he could do so without wasting too much time and energy. Run. Bing Xuanji finally realized how terrifying Ling Xiao was. He no longer had any thoughts of fighting. The first thought he had was to run away. As long as there was life, there was hope. As long as he could escape from here, he would have a way to turn Ling Xiao into a traitor of Xueyu. If that was the case, Ling Xiao would be hunted down by the entire Xueyu. Even if he didn't do anything, he would still be able to kill Ling Xiao. It was a good plan, but could he really escape from here? Bing Xuanji was terrified when he realized that after running for a few thousand meters, he had found himself in a maze. He had returned to the scene and was flying towards Ling Xiao's direction. Ling Xiao sneered. Then he gently waved the relic in his hand. The entire palace started shaking once again. Countless hidden weapons were shot towards Bing Xuanji. These hidden weapons were not ordinary hidden weapons. All of them were rare grade Heavenly King weapons. No wonder this was the place where all the extreme core warriors were buried. These weapons were too powerful, too extravagant. In just a split second, Bing Xuanji was almost turned into a porcupine. But this guy was smart, and he was also ruthless. He dashed back and forth in the crowd. He used the bodies of those who had fought side by side with him to block Ling Xiao's attack. How long can you run for? Ling Xiao looked at all of this coldly, like a cat playing with a mouse. To him, those who were killed also deserved to die. because these people had chosen to attack Lion Xiaobao and the others, and they even wanted to interrupt his refinement process. If they didn't die, would they still be able to give birth to his children? Chapter 3965. In an instant, dozens of martial artists were killed by the terrifying hidden weapon. Their corpses lay on the ground. The scene was a mess. Not only Bing Xuanji, but other than his companions and comrades, he would not let anyone else go. After leaving the secret realm, he planned to go to the Western Kingdom, Strong Nation. If others knew that he had the Saraira of the Sword Spirit City Old Ancestor, it would be troublesome. He had to be ruthless. Therefore, he had to be a little more ruthless. Otherwise, if others knew the truth, with his strength, he was afraid that he would not be able to escape. Ling Xiao, you are too arrogant. Do you really want to kill all of us here? Ao Fei looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, You have the Saraira. We are unlucky. Why don't we stop? In this way, you will still be the final winner. Otherwise, once the battle starts, even if you can kill us, you will not have an easy time. I promise. What a joke. Do you think you are qualified to talk to me about this? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. His body instantly entered the everlasting heavenly rat beast soul transformation state. Then he released the Sky Tyrant martial soul. Everyone was wrapped in the Sky Tyrant universe. There was no direction, no target. If it was outside, Ling Xiao would not be able to use the Sky Tyrant universe so easily. However, with the existence of the Saraira, he could naturally operate it with ease. Kill! At Ling Xiao's command, Lion Master Bao, Dark Frost, and the others immediately attacked. The scene was chaotic. However, with the Sky Tyrant universe's buff, Lion Master Bao and the others' combat power increased greatly. After a frenzied battle, Ao Fei was killed by Ling Xiao with a slap. Even the Dragon God Whip fell into Ling Xiao's hands. However, Bing Xuanji was very smart. To think that he was actually still alive. Even so, Bing Xuanji was still terrified when he saw the warriors around him getting killed one after another. He could not accept what had happened. Ling Xiao had refined the body of the Secret Realm's master into a Saraira. He even controlled the Secret Realm. His strength was so strong that no one could even think of resisting him. He was already planning to escape. If he didn't escape now, he might never have the chance to do so. Do you still think you can escape? Ling Xiao looked at Bing Xuanji contemptuously and said, Even if I don't kill anyone else, you are still my target. Escape? Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will catch you and kill you. As expected, Bing Xuanji smiled bitterly and helplessly. In the previous battle, you made me realize how terrifying you are. Now I was even more terrified. As long as you're alive, I, Bing Xuanji, will never be able to make a name for myself. With your natural talent, Shui will definitely spend a lot of effort to raise you. Therefore, you must die. Oh, Ling Xiao frowned. What puzzled him was why Bing Xuanji still had the confidence to kill him at this moment. You must be very confused. Why would I dare to say such things? Because I won't die. Bing Xuanji smiled and said, You have your own fortuitous encounters, and so do I. Even if you kill all those people, so what? I will definitely spread the news that you obtain the Saraira of the Sword Spirit City Ancestor. At that time, you will be hunted down by all the cultivators of the Western Kingdom. There will be no door to heaven and no road to hell. Even if I die, you will be buried with me soon. Ling Xiao looked at Bing Xuanji and felt that this guy really had some kind of trump card that could allow him to escape from here. Martial Spirit Barrier. For safety's sake, he released his Martial Spirit Barrier and trapped Bing Xuanji. Surprisingly, Bing Xuanji's calm expression did not change at all. You said that my Xian Ji martial spirit is mysterious and unparalleled. Today, I will let you see it. Xian Ji, 5 elements great escape. Earth traversing golden light. Goodbye, Ling Xiao. Next time we meet, maybe you will be torn to pieces by those angry cultivators." As Bing Xuanji's voice resounded, his figure suddenly disappeared. Ling Xiao could only see a golden light rushing through the ground. This golden light was very similar to his earth-traversing golden light technique. Its speed was also very similar. In an instant, it had reached 10 miles away, and it completely ignored Universe Tyrant and Martial Spirit Barrier. This was the first time Ling Xiao had encountered such a guy. "Xian Ji Martial Spirit, I like it more and more. But do you think you can escape like this? Earth-traversing golden light technique." Ling Xiao had said that Bing Xuanji must die. Therefore, he would never let Bing Xuanji escape. Therefore, he used the earth-traversing golden light technique at that moment, and he entered the state of cosmic light body. What? Bing Xuanji thought that he had escaped from Ling Xiao's pursuit and was just about to breathe a sigh of relief. Suddenly, he felt a sense of danger. When he turned around, he was shocked. A golden light was rushing toward him at an extremely fast speed. How could this be? Bing Xuanji was scared out of his wits. Now that he was facing Ling Xiao, he really had no chance of winning. Ling Xiao was like a beast that could devour everything in front of him. He could only be prey. There was no way he could stop Lin Fan's pursuit and attack. "Die, Bing Xuanji! You can't leave here alive." Ling Xiao finally caught up with Bing Xuanji without any hesitation. He immediately used the innate Celestial Demon Seal's most powerful attack, the 10,000 Beasts Unification. A loud explosion sounded. Bing Xuanji was hit by this attack, and his entire body exploded in the air, turning into dust. To make sure that Bing Xuanji was dead, Ling Xiao checked Bing Xuanji's inner core. He also absorbed Bing Xuanji's martial spirit. He didn't care about the goddess of ice martial spirit, but the Xian Ji martial spirit was very mysterious. Since Bing Xuanji didn't know how to use it, he would take it over. Rumble. At that moment, the secret realm shook again. "Oh no, this place is going to collapse." Ling Xiao frowned and hurriedly returned to the palace from before. Lion Master Bao and the others were still waiting for him. Ling Xiao held the Saraira in his hand and opened a teleportation door of speculation. "When you go back, tell the people of Shuiyu that I'm dead. Stay there and cultivate. We'll meet again in the future." He said this to Dark Frost through telepathy. Among these people, he trusted Dark Frost, Lion Master Bao, and Yang Emo the most. But Lion Master Bao was too honest and would easily spill the beans. Yang Emo also didn't know how to hide his feelings. Ling Xiao wanted to pretend to be dead, so he had to deceive the people of Shuiyu. Telling Dark Frost was enough. They were forcefully thrown out of the secret realm by Ling Xiao, and he was buried in the secret realm. Outside the secret realm, the strong cultivators of Shuiyu, White Dragon, and Feng Ho saw that only a few people from Shuiyu had come out. They couldn't help but feel terrified. The secret realm had collapsed, and the space was distorted. Chapter 3966. 3 days later, a figure appeared in the capital of the Western Kingdom's kingdom. This man was about 18 years old. His appearance was dignified and handsome. When he walked on the street, he looked like an ordinary person. No one could sense the aura of a warrior, but his eyes were very sharp, as if he could see through the entire world with a single glance. This man was Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao came out from the secret realm. After making sure that Dark Frost and the others were safe, he came to the capital of the Western Kingdom alone. Today, a grand ceremony was going to take place in the capital. This ceremony was the Golden Heavenly Nation's disciple recruitment ceremony. Ling Xiao had just arrived when he heard someone talking about it. He was heading in the same direction. Western Kingdom's War Soul City. In the huge arena, the densely packed martial artists were like a swarm of ants. With just a glance, one could tell that there were at least 1 million people. If it was an ordinary person, with so many people gathered here, They might not be able to see what was happening in the arena. But warriors were different. Furthermore, there were over 1 million people here, and all of them were divine core warriors. None of them were divine vain warriors. This was the capital of the Western Kingdom's kingdom. It was too scary. No one knew how scary the Golden Heavenly Nation was. The War Soul City was the core area of the capital, and it was also the place where the Golden Heavenly Nation recruited disciples. Therefore, the over 1 million martial artists gathered here were actually young martial artists from all 108 cities in the capital city. All of them dreamed of entering the Golden Heavenly Nation and cultivating. After all, people wanted to go higher and water wanted to go lower. As long as they could enter the Golden Heavenly Nation, they would be one level higher than others. It would be extremely beneficial for their future development. There was no warrior who didn't want to become stronger, because if they were weak, they could die. They couldn't protect the people they wanted to protect. Basically, all the warriors here were below the 5th level of the divine core realm. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation wasn't the highest here, but the strength of his body was much stronger than anyone else here. After transforming into a shadow warrior, he could easily enter the area closest to the arena from the outer perimeter. After all, he could see more clearly there. This would help him enter the Golden Heavenly Nation in the future. After all, the Western Kingdom was just a place for him to settle down. In the arena, the ongoing battle left Ling Xiao dumbfounded. It was a chaotic battle between 100,000 people. Ling Xiao couldn't help but think back to when he first joined the Violet Mansion army. At that time, there was also a similar chaotic battle. A total of 200,000 people are participating in today's selection. 100,000 people had already been eliminated. I wonder how many of the remaining 100,000 people will be favored by the experts of the Golden Heavenly Nation. That's right. The most important thing is that this test is rather troublesome. There are no specific rules, and it doesn't say exactly how to pass the test. It was entirely up to the 3 experts from the Golden Heavenly Nation to choose. If they took a fancy to him, he could go with them. And it's the same every time. Fortunately, there's an assessment like this every half a month. Otherwise, there would be no hope for people like us. 20 people can be selected from 200,000 people at most. Sometimes, we may not even be able to pass a single test. This test is so harsh that we shouldn't even think about it. Let's just stay in the Western Kingdom and cultivate. Although he could only be considered an outer disciple of the Golden Heavenly Nation, it was still an honor. Those warriors from the other 3 superpowers are really envious of us. That's true. But if we don't enter the Golden Heavenly Nation, we won't be satisfied. Listening to the discussion between the 2 men, Ling Xiao roughly understood the meaning and method of this test. It didn't mean that you would get a chance just because you were strong. It all depended on whether or not the experts in the selection had taken a fancy to you. If they didn't, no matter how good your performance was, it would be useless. But then again, unless they had some special hobbies, the disciples chosen by the experts would always be the ones with the best performance. There was no need to worry about this. He passed. He's the first person today. TSK, I'm so envious of him. A peak 5th divine core warrior. Looks like having a strong cultivation base is also a requirement. Hearing the shouts, Ling Xiao looked into the distance. Sure enough, he saw a man jumping up and down in excitement. Normally, the names of those who were selected would be displayed on the huge crystal screen. Once they saw their names, they could stop the test. Naturally, someone from the Golden Heavenly Nation would come out and handle the procedures for them. Those 3 people should be experts from the Golden Heavenly Nation, right? Their auras are really frightening. Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the 3 people on the high platform of the arena. One of them was wearing a red robe, and his hair was as red as fire. It seemed like he had a bad temper. He had a ferocious look. Sitting on the stage, he looked like a ball of frightening flame. It was as if anyone who sat next to him could feel the frightening heat coming from him. He's really strong. I think this guy is a heavenly core warrior. Ling Xiao couldn't see through the red-robed man's cultivation base, so he could only make a guess. The second person was a girl wearing a green dress. She looked gentle and dignified, and anyone could tell she was a girl from a respectable family. Her aura wasn't as frightening as Jiang Chen's, but it was more simple. In terms of strength, she was no weaker than the red-robed man. Most importantly, this girl had a sharp look in her eyes, and he could sense the aura of a swordsman. Ling Xiao was also a swordsman, so he could clearly sense it. The third man seemed to be a general. He was wearing a bright silver armor, and he was holding a long spear in his hand. He gave off the feeling of a war god who could hold back 10,000 men. He was also extremely powerful. The warriors from the Golden Heavenly Nation were indeed frightening. Although these three men didn't attack, no one could doubt their strength. Judging from their auras, Jiang Qin could tell how frightening they were. The warriors from the Golden Heavenly Nation should be at this level. If not, they would be too weak. Ling Xiao thought to himself with a smile on his face. It looked like he was getting closer and closer to the peak of the four regions. Another man passed. His cultivation base isn't too high. He's only a peak first divine core warrior. I think he's chosen because of his talent. After all, he's only 16 years old. Sai, in terms of strength and talent, I don't think we're good enough. All we can do is watch others being happy for nothing. Ling Xiao noticed that the two men who passed were Han Yesheng and Jiu Yu. Actually, they're pretty easy. Sometimes, when those warriors from the Golden Heavenly Nation are in the mood, they'll personally accept the challenge. Those who fight with them are the ones who suffer the most. That's right, that's what happened last time. I wonder if it'll be the same next time. It all depends on their mood. Right at this moment, Ling Xiao noticed another round of discussion. He couldn't help but furrow his brows. If it was a chaotic battle between warriors, he was confident he could stand out. But if he had to fight against warriors like these, it would be troublesome. Because he didn't know how much of his strength he should use, it would be troublesome. If he couldn't defeat them, he would just have to use his full strength. He recalled the battle he had with General Langbak in the Shuiyu Nation. Chapter 3967. If there's a chance, I'll attack with all my strength. Fighting a mighty warrior like this will definitely help me improve my strength, and it will also increase my chances of entering the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao already had an idea. Brother, you don't look familiar. Are you new here? Suddenly, a voice sounded out from beside him. Ling Xiao turned around and saw a young man in his 20s. That's right. Ling Xiao nodded his head. No wonder you're standing here. Hurry up and back off. This place is within the warning zone. If you're hit by any attack, you'll be in big trouble. The young man reminded. Ling Xiao finally realized that the area under his feet was painted red, and it was obviously a sign of danger. Thank you. He smiled and stepped back. No wonder no one was standing in this area. But right at this moment, a frightening sword beam suddenly flew towards them. The sword beam flew towards the young man standing next to Ling Xiao. The sword beam was extremely powerful, and it was unleashed by an early 6th divine core warrior. The young man standing next to Ling Xiao was only a peak 4th divine core warrior. There was no way he could block it. I'm going to die. The man cried out in fear, but it was too late for him to run away. Right at this moment, Ling Xiao extended his arm. When the sword light hit his palm, it actually shattered and shattered like glass. Thank you. Thank you so much. The young man was startled for a brief moment. Then he hurriedly thanked Jiang Qin. It's really dangerous here. Ling Xiao grabbed his arm. Then both of them backed off from the red zone. He realized that any attack that reached the edge of the red zone would be intercepted. It must be the effect of some kind of formation. Thank you so much. Little brother, you're so scary. The young man smiled bitterly. No need to thank me. If it wasn't for your reminder, I would still be standing there. Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. This was the kind of person he was. If someone did him a favor, he would repay it with a whole spring. Oh, right. My name is Zhang He. How should I address you? The young man asked with a smile on his face. Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao replied, This is my first time here, so I'm not very familiar with many things here. Brother Zhang, can you tell me more about it? As expected, you're a newcomer. When I saw you rashly walk into the security zone, I knew that you were definitely not an old man. No problem. Although I, Zhang He, am not very strong, I have stayed in Battle Spirit City for more than 10 years. Whatever you want to know, I can answer it for you. Zhang He patted his chest and said with a smile, Thank you, Brother Zhang. What are the names of the 3 experts from the Golden Heavenly Nation? Ling Xiao asked straightforwardly. It's true that they came from the Golden Heavenly Nation. But in fact, these 3 are all experts who are stationed in Fighting Spirit City. Zhang He smiled and said, Looking at your confused look, you really don't know. In fact, to put it simply, the 108 cities of the Western Heaven Strong Kingdom were actually equivalent to the outer sect of the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. As long as one joined one of the 108 cities and became a martial artist, he was considered an outer disciple of the Golden Heavenly Nation. Battle Spirit City was one of the 108 cities. There were 10,000 gold deacons stationed in the Western Heaven King. These gold deacons were sent by the Golden Heavenly Nation. They were equivalent to the outer sect deacons of the sect. Their strength could only be said to be average, but they were stronger than the disciples of most departments. These 10,000 gold deacons did not belong to any city. They were jointly in charge of the disciples of the 108 cities. In addition to the gold deacons, there were also gold elders. Unlike the gold deacons, the gold elders would be stationed in each city. Generally, each city had 1 or 2 gold deacons. Only Battle Spirit City had a special status, so there were 3 gold deacons. It was those 3 gold deacons. The red-haired man in the red robe was Ancestor Scarlet Flame. He had a flame martial soul. Although it was only a demonic fire martial soul, he had condensed it to a very terrifying level. This person had a fiery temper and was not easy to get along with. But I heard that he was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Once you were recognized by him, you would feel that he was very easy to get along with. That woman was called Green Lotus Swordswoman. Like Ancestor Scarlet Flame, no one knew her real name. They only knew that she had always been called that by the higher-ups. Of course, we still call her Elder Green Lotus. This woman was gentle and dignified. She didn't have a temper and was very easy to get along with. But in terms of disciple selection, it was very harsh. It had been 10 consecutive examinations, and no disciple had been selected. The third person was the man with the long spear and bright silver armor. His name was Zhao Fengyan, and he was a general of the Golden Heavenly Nation. This person's disciple selection was not that harsh, but his requirements for character were extremely high. If your character is not good, no matter how good your martial arts talent is, he will not accept you. Ancestor Scarlet Flame, Green Lotus Swordswoman, Zhao Fengyan. And I understand. Ling Xiao thought that perhaps the strongest martial artists in Battle Spirit City were these 3 people. If he wanted to step into the Golden Heavenly Nation, he must first gain the favor of these 3 people. Are there any other questions? Zhang He asked. I just heard that this selection is held every half a month. Is that so? How can I participate in the selection? No matter what, the Western Kingdom was just a springboard for Ling Xiao. What he really wanted to go to was the Golden Heavenly Nation. Therefore, this matter was very important to him. Zhang, he said with a smile, Little brother, you're really a newcomer. Only newcomers would participate in this kind of selection. Since we're fated to meet, I'll remind you. You'd better learn more about it and prepare for a while. This way, you'll have a greater chance. Otherwise, once you lose, you may not even have the confidence to challenge. I've seen a lot of such people. Maybe I'm different from those people. Ling Xiao said with a smile, I think it's better to have some confidence in myself. I naturally appreciate Brother Zhang's kindness, but I came here from afar, in order to enter the golden, heavenly nation to cultivate. I hope Brother Zhang can understand. Young people are really hot-blooded. Zhang, he said with emotion, I came here when I was 16 years old and was as impulsive as you. Well, since you have such a request, I'll explain it to you. It's true that the selection is held every half a month, but it requires an appointment to register in advance, because there are a lot of people who register. So even if the appointment is successful, you have to wait at least a month before you can participate in the selection. I think you should find a place to stay in Battle Soul City first, then wait patiently after you register. Maybe after a month, you'll be able to participate in the selection. As for me, I'll tell you the same thing. Don't be too anxious. Even if you fail, you have to settle down steadily. Even if you can't go to the Golden Heavenly Nation, you can still stay in the Western Kingdom. Ling Xiao knew Zhang He's kindness, but he didn't have time to waste. He had observed all the warriors who participated in the selection, and none of them had a talent that surpassed his, and none of them had a strength that surpassed his. The strongest among them was only a Peak 6 divine core warrior. Chapter 3968. Is there any way to participate in the assessment as soon as possible? For example, half a month later? Ling Xiao asked, Why are you in such a hurry? Forget it, I won't ask anymore. Everyone has their own reasons. I can help you with this matter. I have an acquaintance who can let you participate in the next selection. Zhang He smiled. Thank you, Brother Zhang. This is a small token of my appreciation. Ling Xiao flipped his hand and a bag appeared in his hand. There were 1,000 upper-grade spirit stones in the bag. Perhaps to him, 1,000 upper-grade spirit stones were nothing at all. But to most cultivators, 1,000 upper-grade spirit stones was definitely not a small amount. For example, Zhang He's family gave him a month's pocket money, which was only that much. I'm not helping you for this. Although Zhang He wanted it very much, he was afraid that he would be regarded as a greedy person and hurriedly refused. If Brother Zhang doesn't want it, it means that you don't treat me as a friend. If you want to find someone to help you, you have to bribe them. Take this 1,000 upper-grade spirit stones. I'll give you another 1,000 upper-grade spirit stones to bribe them. Ling Xiao directly stuffed the spirit stones into his hands. Zhang He hesitated for a moment and finally accepted it. He was really short of upper-grade spirit stones. Little brother, don't worry. I, Zhang He, will definitely settle this matter for you. Otherwise, I'll walk around fighting Soul City on my knees. Zhang, he said very seriously. Then I'll have to trouble Brother Zhang. Ling Xiao also cupped his hands. Zhang, he left with the upper-grade spirit stones. About half an hour later, the selection was about to end. He finally rushed back and was in high spirits. It was obvious that the matter had been settled. Sigh, spirit stones are still useful these days. It's done. Take this piece of paper. Just come here for the next selection. Bring this piece of paper with you, and you can enter. Without this, you can't enter the arena at all. There's an array formation here. Zhang, he sighed and handed the piece of paper to Ling Xiao with a smile. Ling Xiao touched it gently with his hand. There was indeed a special aura on this piece of paper. He hurriedly put it into the Dongsheng Emperor and was extremely grateful. At this moment, the selection had already ended. Ancestor Crimson Flame chose 3 disciples, but Green Lotus Swordswoman still chose none. Zhao Fengyin chose 5 disciples. A total of 8 people passed. After all, he was chosen from 200,000 people. According to the rules, those who don't pass this time won't be able to participate in the selection next time. At the very least, he would have to wait until next time. Therefore, you probably won't meet these people next time. Zhang, he looked at the 8 people enviously and said to Ling Xiao, "Let's go. There are many inns in Fighting Spirit City." "Little brother, where do you want to stay? I'll take you there. Let's go wherever Brother Zhang lives." When Ling Xiao first arrived, he only knew this Zhang He. Therefore, after thinking for a while, he decided that it would be better to stay with this person. This way, he could also learn more about Battle Spirit City and Golden Heavenly Country. "All right, then come with me, Brother Ling. However, the place where I live is not very good. You have to think about it carefully." Zhang, he smiled and left with Ling Xiao. When Ling Xiao made his first friend in Fighting Spirit City, in the Shuiyu secret world, Dark Frost, Lion Master Bao, Yang Mo, Yilingyan, and Shuelian gathered together. In this trip to the secret world, all the big countries had suffered heavy losses. Not many people from Shui came back alive. This made the Eternal Night Palace the most powerful palace in Shuiyu, and Lion Master Bao also became the new young leader, just like Bing Xian Ji's former status. But this kind of thing didn't make Lion Master Bao happy. There had always been a hurdle in his heart. That was Ling Xiao. "Dark Frost, tell me honestly, is Ling Xiao really dead?" Lion Master Bao was a straightforward person, so naturally his questions were also straightforward. "Big Brother Ling, Xiao won't die." Yang Mo had his own thoughts. He believed that a man like Ling Xiao wouldn't die so easily. "I don't think so either," Yilingyan added. "With his strength he was able to bring us out, so he definitely has the ability to escape. And I think he has his own reasons for doing this. Perhaps we'll meet again one day." Shuelian didn't believe that Ling Xiao was dead either. "I can only tell you that Big Brother Ling Xiao has a special identity. Even if he faked his death, there must be a reason behind it. I hope you can understand." Dark Frost sighed. Since everyone thought that Ling Xiao wasn't dead, there was no need for her to hide it from them. "I only have one question. Where did he go?" Lion Master Bao asked. "The Golden Heavenly Kingdom." Dark Frost replied, "Big Brother Ling Xiao told us to go to the Golden Heavenly Kingdom and find him after we break through to the perfect 7th Heavenly Core Realm." Perfect 7th Heavenly Core Realm? All right, I'll go and cultivate now. Lion Master Bao clenched his fists in excitement. Then he turned around and left. The rest of the people also left. Although they didn't say it out loud, they still wanted to meet Ling Xiao again. After all, Shuiyu Kingdom was just a kingdom, and they would have to leave sooner or later. "Big Brother Ling Xiao, how are you doing?" "Don't worry. Dark Frost will come and find you soon. Just you wait." Dark Frost looked in the direction of the Western Kingdom. Only she knew that Ling Xiao's first step was to go there, but his next destination was definitely the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. She had to work harder as soon as possible, otherwise she wouldn't be able to catch up with Ling Xiao's cultivation speed. "Hey, this is where I'm staying. Isn't it messy?" In Battle Soul City, Zhang he had brought Ling Xiao to his residence. This place couldn't be considered an inn, it was just a private house. But all the rooms here were rented out. Martial artists could be seen walking back and forth. Near the house, there was a big market. There were all kinds of shops in the market. There were things for ordinary people and also things for warriors. Living here was actually not bad. "Landlady, what are you doing, throwing my things out?" As soon as they arrived in the yard, Zhang he saw his things being thrown out, and suddenly he was unhappy. "You still have the face to ask why. Did you pay last month's rent?" A middle-aged woman with a face painted like a ghost came out from upstairs and shouted with her hands on her hips. "Landlady, didn't we agree on a few days?" "I've already asked my family to send the money." Zhang he said gloomily, "Didn't I pay the previous rent on time? It's only a month late, and it's a special case. Can't you be lenient? We're old friends. Don't try to get close to me. If you have money, stay here. If you don't have money, get out. I'm doing business, not charity." The landlady's attitude was very tough. "Who told you I don't have money? Isn't it just 500 high-grade spirit stones? Here you go. Chapter 3969. When the landlady saw the spirit stones in Zhang He's hand, her expression immediately changed. Well, you brat, you're obviously rich, but you want to go back on your word and pretend to be pitiful in front of me. Give me the money and get out of here immediately. She didn't let Zhang He stay just because he had paid the rent. Instead, she still wanted to drive Zhang He away. Nonsense, the contract I signed with you is a long-term rental, and you still have my deposit of 5,000 upper-level spirit stones. If you violate the contract, you have to pay 10 times the compensation. Give me 50,000 upper-level spirit stones, and I'll leave. Zhang He was also annoyed. He had paid the rent, but she still wanted to drive him away. It was simply unreasonable. In that case, he would leave, but he had to get the compensation. You still want compensation? Do you know who's backing this old lady? It's the famous Long Saber Gang. How dare you ask me for compensation? Do you want to die? The landlady sneered. Hearing the 3 words, Long Saber Gang, Zhang He instantly withered. Little brother, forget it. You can rent a place anywhere. If you can't, you can go to an inn. Although it's a little expensive, you have money. Zhang He looked at Ling Xiao and said, What about you? Ling Xiao knew that Zhang He didn't have much money. I'll make do with this shabby temple for a few days. When my family sends the money, it won't be too late to find a place to live. Zhang He said, What's the background of this Long Saber Gang? How dare they behave so atrociously in Fighting Soul City? Ling Xiao didn't leave, but asked curiously, You don't know about the Long Saber Gang? They're a tyrant in Fighting Soul City. Anyway, we can't afford to offend them. Zhang He shook his head. Ling Xiao glanced at Zhang He and sighed. He didn't intend to stand up for Zhang He, because he could help Zhang He once, but he couldn't help him a second time. If he provoked the Long Saber Gang, Zhang He might lose his life when he wasn't around. Little brother, if you're not busy, I'll go pack up first. We'll leave later. Zhang He said, I know a pretty good inn. Fine. Ling Xiao nodded and went to the room with Zhang He. They chatted as they packed up. Don't dawdle. I'll only give you 10 minutes. Hurry up and scram. I still want to rent this house to someone else. The landlady's voice came from outside, sounding very impatient. Got it. Zhang He shouted outside. Then he looked at Ling Xiao and said, Little brother, I originally planned to stay next door. I could tell you more about the situation here, but there's no other way now. If you have any questions, just ask the important ones. I'll tell you now. All right, let's talk about the Golden Heavenly Nation. In the end, the Western Kingdom's powerful country was only Ling Xiao's temporary foothold. His real target was the Golden Heavenly Nation. Your question has really stumped me. I really don't know much about the Golden Heavenly Country. If one were to treat the Golden Sky region as a sect, then the other 3 powerful countries would only be the odd jobs of this sect. They couldn't even be considered as disciples. The Western Kingdom great powers were considered outer sect disciples. Only by entering the Golden Heavenly Nation could one be considered to have stepped into the inner sect. Not only could one get better cultivation resources, but one's status and power would also increase a lot. The entire Golden Heavenly Nation was ruled by the Golden Heavenly Nation. The Golden City was the core of the core. Before the 13 continents of the mystic world split apart, the Golden City had already existed. Now it was the symbol of the Golden Heavenly Nation. Without the Golden City, the Golden Heavenly Nation can no longer be called the Golden Heavenly Nation. Zhang, he didn't know much about the Golden Heavenly Nation. He could only tell Ling Xiao what he knew. Where exactly is the Golden City? Ling Xiao asked. This question is even more difficult. I've heard people mention that the Golden City doesn't exist in our plane. It exists in a certain small world, and it's incomparably huge. Ancestor Scarlet Flame, Azure Lotus Swordswoman, and General Zhao Fengyan all came out of the Golden City. No matter who it is, as long as they go to the Golden City once, they will become a legend after coming out. They will become an idol in people's hearts. Therefore, going to the Golden City is also called gilding. My dream is to go to the Golden City to be gilded. Unfortunately, I am afraid that my dream will not be realized in this life. If you want to go to the Golden City, I can't help you much. However, I can tell you about the general situation of the Golden City. Because it's my dream, I've read a lot of books. Tell me about it. No matter what information it was about the Golden City, Ling Xiao wanted to know. Let's put it this way. The structure of the Golden Heavenly Nation is different from that of a powerful country. Its area is not as big as imagined. Moreover, there are no small cities. The cities of the Golden Heavenly Nation are called holy cities. There are a total of 3,000 holy cities. Every holy city does not allow ordinary people to exist. All of them are talented martial artists. A holy city can accommodate 100,000 disciples. 3,000 holy cities means 300 million disciples. This is the backbone of the Golden Heavenly Nation. No matter which holy city you join in the future, it's the same. The person with the highest authority in each holy city is called the Holy Lord. Under the Holy Lord are the City Lord, Deputy City Lord, General, and Commander. The disciples of the Holy City are divided according to silver and gold. The number of gold disciples is fewer, but their status is higher. There are 300 million of them. Ling Xiao was shocked. This was much more powerful than the Shuiyu country. No wonder the Golden Heavenly Nation could rule the entire Golden Heavenly Nation. It's actually a small matter. Although the 3,000 holy cities are terrifying, they're still inferior to the Golden City. Those who can step into the Golden City are the best among the golden disciples of the 3,000 holy cities. All of them are outstanding, peerless geniuses. It is said that the Golden Emperor lives in the Golden City. They are the most terrifying warriors who surpass the divine core realm there. As long as the Golden City does not fall, the Golden Heavenly Nation will not fall, and the Golden Heavenly Nation will not fall. Speaking of this, Zhang, he seemed to be a little excited. As for Ling Xiao, it was an eye-opener. He felt that he was just a little ant now. The 4 great countries had tens of billions of talents in reserve, and they were all prepared for the Golden Heavenly Nation. This was also the lowest level of existence. The Western Kingdom was relatively special among them. They could directly select disciples to enter the Golden Heavenly Nation, but the other great countries could not. This was their privilege. This was also the reason why Ling Xiao wanted to come to the Western Kingdom. Next, it was the 3,000 holy cities of the Golden Heavenly Nation. 300 million disciples. This strength should be the strength of the Golden Heavenly Nation on the surface. But the core strength of the Golden Heavenly Nation was the Golden City. It was also the most mysterious and powerful place. I must go to the Golden City and have a look. Ling Xiao knew very well that if he wanted to unify the Black Tortoise Continent, he had to conquer a mysterious place like the Golden City. That was just empty talk. It was a castle in the sky. Perhaps for others, becoming a silver disciple of the 3,000 holy cities was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Becoming a gold disciple was even more difficult, not to mention becoming a disciple of the Golden City. But for Ling Xiao, nothing was impossible. Chapter 3970. A strong challenge would only stimulate Ling Xiao to become stronger, and it would only make him work harder. It wouldn't make him afraid. His cultivation had dropped so much, but he was still able to recover to the peak 4th divine core realm in such a short period of time. Was there any problem he couldn't solve? Besides, he had the divine pills from the ancient Dongxing Emperor and the Empress. He had the inheritance of the thief god. He had the Saraira of the Sword Spirit City's old ancestor. These were all the key factors for him to increase his cultivation in such a short period of time. The reason why he didn't use them was because it wasn't the right time yet. It would be a waste to use them now. The Shui Empire was nothing in front of the Western Kingdom. The Western Kingdom was nothing in front of the 3,000 sacred cities. The 3,000 sacred cities were nothing in front of the Golden City. But he still had to take it easy. First, he had to get the approval of Ancestor Scarlet Flame, Sword Girl Azure Lotus, or Zhao Fengyan. Only then would he be able to enter the 3,000 sacred cities. Zhang He, get the hell out here. Just as Ling Xiao was thinking about how he could become a disciple of the 3,000 sacred cities, suddenly a loud shout sounded out. The voice sounded like a wild beast roaring, and it caused the air to vibrate. The room started shaking. Damn it, the Longblade Gang is here. Quick, let's go. Zhang, he was so scared that his expression changed. He quickly picked up his bag, but he didn't take anything with him. He just threw it on the floor, because he was scared of dying. Although the Longblade Gang was just one of the gangs in the Battle Soul City, there were tens of thousands of them. There were over 10,000 of them. They were all sworn brothers, and they were ranked according to their age. In the entire Battle Soul City, apart from the officials, no one dared to offend them. A single man facing over 10,000 men, it was a battle that he couldn't win. Not to mention that Zhang, he himself, was not strong enough. Even if he could defeat one or two of the gang leaders, it would still be meaningless. After all, those 10,000 men weren't useless. They were divine core warriors. When the two men left the room, they saw over 100 men walking up the stairs. Little brother, don't cause any trouble. You can't afford to offend these men. The Longblade Gang has over 10,000 men, and all of them are divine core warriors. Zhang, he reminded Jiang Qin while walking up the stairs. This was because he could tell that Ling Xiao was not someone who was willing to suffer losses. He had to say this in advance. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if trouble arose. Won't the Battle Spirit City officials care about them? Are we just going to let them run amok? Ling Xiao asked with a frown. I don't care. Because we're all martial artists, fighting is encouraged here. Don't many sects do the same? They encourage disciples to fight each other in order to strengthen their combat abilities. Zhang, he replied. That's good. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold grin. Since he didn't stop them from fighting in private, this matter was simple. Done. Zhang, he was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to say something, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew over. He instinctively dodged. This strong wind directly hit the handrail of the stairs, shattering it into pieces. Bastard, you still dare to hide? The first person rushed over and raised his leg to kick Zhang He. However, this leg was blocked by someone. Ling Xiao didn't care about other people's business, but since this matter came to him, he had no reason to ignore it. Brothers of the Long Saber Gang, I don't know how my brother offended you. You came up and directly attacked without asking anything. No matter what, you should at least give a reason. His voice was cold. Obviously, he was angry. Although Zhang, he didn't have a deep relationship with him. After all, they met by chance and had some fate. Directly attacking in front of him? That wouldn't do. Boy, we Long Saber Gang never have a reason to beat people. That person looked at Ling Xiao and directly raised his fist to punch. Suddenly, Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a terrifying and sharp light. It was like two sword lights. That person not only stopped attacking, but also retreated a few steps away. Boy, you still dare to attack? In the crowd, a young man with a large birthmark on his face walked out. He was so ugly that he shouldn't scare people. This person was the 9th Master of the Long Saber Gang. People called him the 9th Master of the Long Saber. Although the 9th Master of the Long Saber was the weakest among the 9 people of the Long Saber Gang. But after all, he was the 9th Master. So he wanted to save face. Someone dared to beat up his brother in front of him. That wouldn't do. 9th Master, Please don't be angry. My brother is new here and doesn't know anything. I hope you can be magnanimous." Zhang, he hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Forgive him? Okay, Ninth Master. You're the easiest person to talk to. Let's not beat around the bush. Leave 100,000 upper-level spirit stones and you can go." The Ninth Master of the Long Saber laughed. The moment he heard that, Ling Xiao suddenly understood everything. This group of people was probably called by the landlady because they thought that Zhang he had found a rich woman. They deliberately came to rob him. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of killing intent. He didn't like to kill people, but if someone was courting death, he didn't mind doing it. That landlady had already gone too far in the past. However, this matter caused his killing intent to increase even more. 100,000 upper-level spirit stones. Zhang He's expression collapsed in an instant. How could he have so many spirit stones? "I'm sorry, brother. I got you into trouble. If you have a chance later, you can escape." Zhang He sighed. He was not a fool. If the other party was already like this, he still didn't understand what had happened. Then he would have lived for so long in vain. Got me into trouble? No, I don't think so. A strange expression flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes. He said with a smile, "Ninth Master? In this world, you really don't have the right to let anyone call you Ninth Master. You want to be a master? Why don't you go to hell? It must be fun." Hearing this, the Ninth Master of the Long Saber's expression instantly became ferocious. "Ha ha ha!" A burst of wild laughter sounded. "Boy, you really don't want to do it the hard way. If you obediently give me 100,000 upper-level spirit stones, we can still be friends. In the future, we can help you in Battle Soul City. But now you must die." "Must die? I can tell you that I have a lot of spirit stones, but you don't deserve to be my friend. I, Ling Xiao, have no interest in being friends with a scum like you." Ling Xiao said with a mocking tone, "Good boy, you must be tired of living. Attack, kill these two bastards. Then we'll rob them of everything they have." The Ninth Master of the Long Saber shouted out. This man was only an early 4th Divine Core Warrior. To be honest, he might not even be Zhang He's match. The reason why he dared to be so arrogant was mostly because of the Long Saber gang. With more people around, he would have more courage. But too bad, in Ling Xiao's eyes, the Long Saber gang was just a bunch of useless people. Understood. When the men of the Long Saber gang heard their Ninth Master's order, they immediately shouted and leapt towards Ling Xiao and Zhang He. Ling Xiao smiled. Since he had arrived in Battle Soul City, he hadn't done anything yet. Chapter 3971. Bang! A frightening aura was unleashed from Ling Xiao's body. Although it was just his aura, it was like a sword energy explosion. The group of men who were charging at Jiang Qin were instantly knocked away. Their bodies exploded in the air, and they fell onto the ground, dead. Dozens of men who were charging at Jiang Qin were all killed. They were just trash at the 1st or 2nd Divine Core realm. They were nothing in front of Jiang Qin. What? Witnessing this scene, Ninth Long Saber was startled. He thought Zhang, his friend, was a soft persimmon. Who would have thought that he would run into an iron wall this time? Just as he was about to turn around and run, a shadow suddenly approached him. In an instant, Ling Xiao had grabbed Ninth Long Saber's head. An icy cold aura was injected into Ninth Long Saber's body. Ninth Long Saber was like a dead dog. He didn't even have the strength to struggle. Fast. Too fast. It was unimaginably fast. Zhang, he was shocked by what he saw. So he's this strong, no wonder he said he wanted to go to the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. Ninth Long Saber was an early 4th Divine Core Warrior. Although his cultivation was weaker than Zhang He, his combat strength was no weaker than Zhang He. He was born to be a cultivator who wasn't suited for cultivation. But this ninth long saber was subdued by Ling Xiao with just a single strike. Zhang, he thought he was dreaming. He rubbed his eyes, and only then did he realize that this wasn't a dream. It was something that had happened for real. "Let me go." Ninth Long Saber's face was deathly pale. It was as white as snow. He screamed out in fear, but it seemed like he couldn't even make a sound. Ling Xiao's aura had a bone-chilling intent that directly froze his body. It had frozen his true yuan. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. He believed that if Ling Xiao wanted to kill him, he could crush his head with just a little bit of force. It was that simple. "Little brother, don't kill him. Just knock him out. Let's run for our lives. Once we leave Battle Soul City, they won't be able to spread their influence to other cities." Suddenly, as if Zhang he had realized something, he hastily shouted out, "Leave? Is that really necessary?" Ling Xiao's voice was cold and indifferent. He didn't want to provoke others, but since others wanted to provoke him, why should he pretend to be a coward? "Don't be impulsive, little brother. The boss of the Long Blade Gang is much stronger than this old man. We still have a chance to escape now, but once the boss of the Long Blade Gang finds out, we will have nowhere to run." Zhang he explained, "How strong is he?" Ling Xiao remained unmoved and asked indifferently, "Anyway, he's very strong, at least a perfect fifth divine core warrior." Zhang he replied, 5 stages of perfection? Ling Xiao smiled contemptuously. He had killed an 8th level divine core warrior before, although that was before his cultivation had regressed. But even after he had been pushed back, he had still killed a 7th divine core warrior, a mere perfect 5th divine core trash. Was he really afraid of him? "Kid, what are you laughing at? Let our 9th master go, or else the Long Blade Gang will definitely kill you." Although the remaining men from the Long Blade Gang wanted to save 9th brother, after witnessing Ling Xiao's frightening strength, none of them dared to do so. They were afraid that they would become the sacrificial lambs, but they had no choice but to speak. They could only hope that their boss could scare this young man. But too bad there was no fear on Ling Xiao's face. What was on his face was a disdainful smile. "Think twice. Little brother, think twice." Zhang, he still didn't know Ling Xiao's true strength. That's why he was worried. If Ling Xiao really killed 9th Long Saber, he would have a death grudge with the Long Saber Gang. Think twice? There's no need for that. A cold smile emerged on Ling Xiao's face. Suddenly, a terrifying suction force emerged from Jiang Chen's right hand, which was holding 9th brother. The suction force exploded 9th brother's inner core and turned it into Jiang Chen's own strength. The pitiful 9th brother fell to the ground like a puddle of mud and could no longer be arrogant and despotic. Whoosh pa! A whistling arrow suddenly sounded in the sky. Ling Xiao turned his head and saw that the one who released the whistling arrow was the landlady from before. There was no doubt that this person was a member of the Long Blade Gang. She was gathering the members of the Long Blade Gang. "Oh no, no! Little brother, run away quickly. If you don't run away, you'll die." "Zhang," he hurriedly shouted. "Brother Zhang, you go." Ling Xiao waved his hand and said, "When I stepped into Fighting Spirit City, I didn't plan to leave. A mere Long Blade Gang. They provoked me, so I'll destroy them." "Little brother, what nonsense are you talking about? Even if I'm a coward, I won't leave my friends behind. Forget it. We'll just die together." Zhang, he gritted his teeth and said. This made Ling Xiao somewhat surprised. He thought that Zhang, he would be a coward who was afraid of death. He never thought that this person would be willing to stay and fight with him. It seemed that it was true that birds of a feather flocked together. The people that Ling Xiao made friends with were generally not too bad. "Well, Brother Zhang, as long as I, Ling Xiao, am still alive, you won't die." Ling Xiao thought of his friends. Whether it was Cold Plum, Long Chen, Xiao Jin, Ziqinya, Zilong, Shi Xiaobao, Dark Frost, Yang Mo, etc., Perhaps Zhang he was not as talented as these people. Perhaps Zhang he was more afraid of death. However, the fact that they valued relationships and righteousness was a common trait. At this moment, he was full of heroism. Come on, I'll kill as many as the Long Blade Gang comes. Brother Zhang, I'll have to trouble you first. Ling Xiao hid Zhang, he and the Dong Sheng Emperor ring. After all, once the battle started, he would not have time to protect Zhang he. Whoosh! Ling Xiao flashed and appeared in front of the landlady. I heard from Zhang he that among the 9 leaders of the Long Blade Gang there's a woman. I think it's you. Long Blade Old 8, hee, you've been hiding well. Ling Xiao looked at the landlady and said with a grin on his face. He was just trying to bluff her. But unexpectedly, the landlady didn't even try to defend herself. Instead, she sneered and said, Brat, you know I'm Long Blade Old 8, why are you still here? In less than 10 minutes, our brothers from the Long Blade Gang will be here. At that time, you'll be dead for sure. I'll die? Poor woman, you still don't understand? I know you're Long Blade Old 8, but I still dare to stay here. What do you think I'm relying on? Ling Xiao's grin was filled with ridicule. He really didn't know where this woman got her confidence from. Although he's stronger than Long Blade Old 9, he's only a mid-4th divine core warrior. In front of him, you're nothing. He could easily kill this woman, but he didn't. At least, he didn't plan to do so now. He wanted to kill this woman in front of everyone from the Long Blade Gang. Since he was going to do it, he had to do it thoroughly. He had to completely destroy the Long Blade Gang. If a piece of trash like this was allowed to stay in the Heavenly Dynasty Empire, it would be an insult to him, the Heavenly Emperor. Chapter 3972. The Longbao Gang came quickly. In less than 10 minutes, 4,000 or 5,000 people had gathered. The landlady became excited. The Longbao Gang could stand firm in Fighting Soul City, not because of one person's strength. It was because of the number of people. She didn't deny this point. Let go of my 8th sister. Longbao 7, a bearded man, had the same strength as Longbao 8. He was not worth mentioning, but he was quite impressive. In this world, there were too many people who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. At this time, in addition to the Longbao Gang, there were many onlookers who were attracted by the whistling arrow. There was a person in the crowd, dressed in a green robe, with a dignified appearance, and looked gentle and elegant. It was Azure Lotus, swordswoman. Standing beside her was her maidservant, Xiao Huan. I thought there were no men in Fighting Soul City. I didn't expect to see one today. Azure Lotus swordswoman showed a faint smile, looked at Ling Xiao, and said, Master, you think too highly of that boy. The Longbao Gang has just arrived. He must be scared to death. It's not like I haven't seen such a person before. At first, he was majestic, but after the boss of the Longbao Gang came, he was completely listless. Xiao Huan didn't agree with her master's opinion. Azure Lotus swordswoman didn't explain, just smiled slightly, standing in the crowd and watching. You're all here. Ling Xiao suddenly smiled evilly, seeing thousands of people from the Longbao Gang, including several leaders of the Longbao Gang. He knew that he could take action. You want me to let her go? Okay. Ling Xiao said lightly. See, Master, I have said that this person is not good. He is so scared. The boss of the Longbao Gang hasn't come yet. Xiao Huan said disappointedly. Azure Lotus swordswoman still didn't speak, just watched quietly. At this time, Ling Xiao continued, If you disband the Longbao Gang, kneel down and apologize to me. Kneel down and apologize to me, then I'll let her go. Ah, hearing this, not only Xiao Huan was stunned. The onlookers were also stunned. Was there something wrong with this person's head? He actually dared to say such words. However, just as they were mocking Ling Xiao made his move. He gently extended a finger. The cold sword Qi directly pierced 8th brother's dantian. Long Saber Old ate, screamed miserably on the spot, and then died. Even before he died, his face was brimming with pride. In other words, at the moment before his death, he still didn't think that Ling Xiao would actually dare to make a move. Kill. He really killed him. Was this kid crazy? Although Fighting Soul City allowed people to exchange pointers in private and even severely injure or cripple people. However, killing was not allowed. If he killed someone, he would be judged by the Gold Deacon. Once he was convicted, it would be troublesome. He actually made a move. Is this person crazy? Xiao Huan covered her mouth, dumbfounded. He's not crazy. He wanted to keep a low profile, judging from his choice of residence. This should be correct. Unfortunately, some people were not willing to let him keep a low profile. Since that was the case, he might as well act in a high-profile manner. This young man is a person who will do big things. Although he looks crazy in fact, he made this decision after careful consideration. Green Lotus, swordswoman, said faintly, "But, Master, he killed someone. I'm afraid he won't be able to escape the Gold Deacon's trial." Xiao Huan said nervously. Although she looked down on Ling Xiao before, at this moment she admired Ling Xiao. Just as her master said, the men in Fighting Soul City were not all dead. There were still men with such courage. The Gold Deacon is not qualified to judge him. Green Lotus, swordswoman, said faintly, "Killing someone in Fighting Soul City, if he passes the Gold Deacon's test, he can be pardoned." "So, Master, you're finally going to have a disciple." Xiao Huan said excitedly, "No, it's hard to say now. I have to wait and see. Although I admire him, if his attainments in swordsmanship are not good enough, naturally I won't choose him." Green Lotus, swordswoman, said faintly, "Master, aren't you being a little too selfish?" Xiao Huan pouted. "Little girl, is it because I haven't disciplined you for a long time that you've learned to talk back?" Green Lotus, swordswoman, said with a smile. Xiao Huan stuck out her tongue, giggled, and looked over there again. In the crowd, the discussion became louder, and the Longbao gang members were a little confused. It was the first time they met such a daring boy. He killed their 8th master right in front of them. This was too arrogant. This boy is doomed. After killing the 9th leader and the 8th leader, the remaining 7 people will eat him alive. That's right. For so many years, the Longbao gang has bullied many people, although they have lost many members. But they have never lost face like today. Since they lost face, they naturally have to get it back. I guess this boy will not only die, but he will die miserably. I heard that it was that idiot Zhang, he who led this boy here. I wonder where he is hiding now. He must have escaped. The newcomer doesn't know, but Zhang he definitely knows. So if he doesn't run away now, he will stay and wait for death. There was a lot of discussion, and they were not optimistic about Ling Xiao. Over the years, there were many newcomers who stood out, but many of them died in the hands of the Longbao gang. Although killing was not allowed in Fighting Soul City, they would knock these people out and throw them out of the city to be killed. Boom! More terrifying sounds came. Finally, nearly 10,000 members of the Longbao gang and all the leaders gathered. 7th leader, who did it? Who killed the 8th leader and the 9th leader? In the crowd, a young man who looked a little weak said with a somewhat evil voice. He was the leader of the Longbao gang. "Big brother, it's that boy." The 7th leader of the Longbao gang saw Ling Xiao kill the 8th leader, so he naturally knew. The leader of the Longbao gang looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. Although he was as thin as firewood, although he looked weak, there was a terrible aura in his body. It was cold and evil. "Is it really you?" The leader of the Longbao gang said coldly. Ling Xiao said with a smile, "Who else do you think it is?" These 2 idiots didn't even bring their eyes when they went out. They deserved to not see the danger and etiquette. They offended someone they shouldn't have. I just taught them how to be a man. Who would have thought that they would be so useless? Nothing much happened and they actually died. What a loser! Although Ling Zhao's words were said lightly, it was a strong insult to the Longbao gang. He didn't take the 7 leaders of the Longbao gang seriously at all. Master, why is this person's mouth so cheap? Isn't he afraid of being killed? Xiao Huan was a little nervous. If he was afraid, he wouldn't have killed the 8th leader and the 9th leader. Just wait and see. There is something special in this young man's body. I like it very much. Azure Lotus, swordswoman, stared at Ling Xiao intently. It had been a long time since she was so eager to accept a disciple like today. Old Virgin, why are you here? Suddenly, a voice sounded behind Azure Lotus, swordswoman. Chapter 3973. Green Lotus swordswoman's face turned cold as she suddenly released a terrifying sword chi. That person seemed to have been prepared for this move. A ball of fire formed in his hand and blocked the sword chi. However, cold sweat still oozed from his forehead. I say, Sister Qinglian, are you really going to kill me? Ancestor Red Flame smiled bitterly. If you dare to call me that again, I'll cut off your tongue. Green Lotus, swordswoman, glared at Ancestor Red Flame helplessly. This old thing was so disrespectful. It was really depressing. Red Flame has always been like this. Green Lotus, don't lower yourself to his level. But who is that kid? He dares to fight against tens of thousands of people from the Long Saber gang alone? Is he the crown prince of a powerful country? Zhao Fengyan also appeared. It was impossible for the 3 gold elders to not appear in such a lively event. It shouldn't be. I know all the crown princes of the 4 powerful countries. At most, he's an illegitimate child. Ancestor Red Flame said, Stop talking nonsense and watch the battle. In addition, General Zhao, please tell those gold deacons not to make a move first. I want to observe this kid. Green Lotus swordswoman looked at Zhao Fengyan and said, Sister Green Lotus, don't tell me you like this kid? Ancestor Red Flame was extremely surprised. Zhao Fengyan also felt a little surprised. Green Lotus swordswoman hadn't taken a fancy to a decent talent for many years. Did 8 Qi Yangs appear in the sky today? You'll know later. Green Lotus swordswoman still wouldn't act until she saw a rabbit. Whether Ling Xiao could catch her eye or not depended on his performance. She wouldn't take in a disciple easily. This principle wouldn't change. Okay, I'll go and stop those gold deacons. Zhao Fengyan left temporarily. However, Ancestor Scarlet Flame looked at Ling Xiao with interest. This ancestor wants to see exactly what sort of man little sister Qinglian admires is like. On the battlefield, Ling Xiao faced tens of thousands of people from the Long Saber gang and still showed a calm side. It was as if this group of people wasn't worth mentioning in front of him. This made everyone murmur in their hearts. This young man was either a fool who didn't know how to be afraid, or he had something to rely on and knew that the Long Saber gang couldn't hurt him. However, the reason for this was not something that could be seen with the naked eye. The leader of the Long Saber gang frowned. He did not immediately give the order to attack. The 9 leaders of the Long Saber gang were all sworn brothers and had a very good relationship with each other. Now Old 8 and Old 9 had been killed by that kid. No matter what, this enmity must be avenged. But before taking revenge, he wanted to figure out Ling Zhao's identity. Kid, tell me your name. I really want to know what kind of background you have. How dare you provoke the Long Saber gang? The leader of the Long Knife gang looked at Ling Xiao and said coldly. This person was one of the calmer ones. He knew that there were some people in Fighting Spirit City that he could not afford to offend. Speak. Suddenly, over 10,000 people shouted at the same time. Terrifying auras condensed into a ball and blasted towards Ling Xiao. Just this terrifying aura alone was enough to make many of the onlookers tremble in fear. After all, This was more than 10,000 divine core warriors. Although most of them are only at the first or second level of the divine core realm, their combined aura was still very frightening. However, when this ferocious aura approached Ling Xiao, it disappeared without a trace. It was as if it was sucked away by something. This feeling is pretty good. Ling Xiao smiled. The pressure brought by over 10,000 people had once again increased the energy in his cultivation sea. Now it had reached 60%. He was very close to breaking through. Just as everyone was looking at Ling Xiao, waiting for him to announce his name, Ling Xiao's expression changed. Ling Xiao laughed with disdain. My name? You bunch of scum. You don't deserve to know my name. All right, enough with the bullshit. If you want to fight or kill, just do it now. This young master's fists are already thirsty for blood. Hearing this, the onlookers were all dumbfounded. This guy was so arrogant, facing so many mighty warriors from the Long Saber gang. He dared to say they didn't deserve to know his name? Not bad, but I wonder how strong you are. If you don't have any abilities, then you're an idiot. Old ancestor Scarlet Flame said disdainfully. That's right. Arrogance needs to be backed up by strength. Arrogance without strength is stupidity. Zhao Fengyan had also walked back and added. Green Lotus Swordswoman didn't speak and continued to watch quietly. She was also looking forward to what kind of answer this arrogant young man would give her. Suddenly, the 3 gold elders were all stunned. This was because they saw Ling Xiao revealing a bewitching smile towards them. Good boy. He had already discovered the 3 of us. Old ancestor Scarlet Flame said in surprise. We restrained our aura, but he still noticed us. It seems that this boy's soul force is very strong. Zhao Fengyun also said. Not only that, the 3 of us might have been schemed against by him. Green Lotus Swordswoman smiled bitterly. Schemed against. What kind of logic is this? Old ancestor Scarlet Flame was puzzled. Yes, master. How could he scheme against you? Xiao Huan was also puzzled. This boy probably can't wait for the next selection. It just so happens that the Long Saber Gang came to our door again. That's why he wants to use the Long Saber Gang to show us his ability. If we choose him, he won't have to wait for half a month. Green Lotus Swordswoman explained. Ha ha ha, interesting. Since he dares to do this, it means he is very confident in himself. I really want to see what kind of ability he has. Old ancestor Scarlet Flame burst out into laughter. It's been a long time since I met such an interesting young man. Let's do it. Right at this moment, Zhao Fengyun suddenly said. On the battlefield, a powerful killing intent emerged from the cold eyes of the Long Saber Gang's boss. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us. Kill him. He waved his right hand, causing a few hundred warriors to dash toward Ling Xiao. Among them were 7th Saber Gang and 6th Saber Gang. 7th Saber Gang was a mid-4th Heavenly Core Warrior. 6th Saber Gang was a late 4th Heavenly Core Warrior. Both of them were the strongest amongst the few hundred warriors. This attack was just a test. The boss really wanted to know how strong this young man was, and why he dared to be so arrogant. This is the perfect opportunity to test Bing Xuanji's Xuanji martial soul. After killing Bing Xuanji, Ling Xiao had obtained the Xuanji martial soul that he had been dreaming of. This Xuanji martial soul actually contained the 36 Heavenly Dipper arts and the 72 Earthly Fiend arts. They were collectively known as the 108 Xuanji martial souls. This martial soul was extremely rare. It didn't increase a warrior's combat strength. It allowed a warrior to possess hundreds of Xuanji martial souls. It was truly mysterious. However, because Ling Xiao had just obtained it, there weren't many Xuanji martial souls that he could use. Besides, he had started studying the 36 Heavenly Dipper arts. Currently, there were only 4 Xuanji martial souls that he could use. The first Xuanji martial soul was Flower Blooming. Xuanji martial soul, flower blooming. This was a frightening Xuanji martial soul skill that allowed him to control time. It could accelerate the maturity of something, or even cause it to wither or decline. Chapter 3974. Following that, a strange, profound diagram emerged behind Ling Zhao's back. A red light covered the few hundred warriors who were charging towards Jiangqin. In an instant, something terrifying happened. These few hundred warriors were all in their 20s to 40s. But when they arrived in front of Ling Zhao, all of them became old and their eyes became dull. In an instant, dozens of years or even hundreds of years had passed from their bodies. This was a heaven-defying secret skill, and it was so powerful that it shocked everyone. But in fact, it was because Ling Zhao's strength was too weak. This change was only temporary, and it could only last for a minute. The stronger the opponent was, the worse the effect would be. But even so, it was more than enough. Facing a few hundred old men and women who couldn't even stand properly, even if it was just for a minute, Ling Zhao would be able to win easily. He suddenly threw out a punch. The hundreds of old martial artists were all killed on the spot. After all, they were weaker than ordinary men right now. How could they possibly defend themselves from a peak fourth divine core warrior's violent punch? What the hell? This was crazy. This was too frightening. The surrounding people were all shocked, and they were all screaming in their minds. But no sound came out from their mouths, because they were so surprised that they forgot how to shout and shout. That punch was actually nothing much. Any divine core warrior could kill a few hundred trash who were weaker than ordinary men with just a single punch. But the most frightening thing was the red light that could instantly age a person. It's the profound diagram martial soul. Sword Maiden Green Lotus was shocked. A martial soul like this can only be awakened by someone with extraordinary talent. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to awaken. Even if it was awakened, without sufficient comprehension, it would be impossible to grasp the profound principles behind it. This young man is obviously a genius. A flower blooming in an instant, this is terrifying. Zhao Fengyin furrowed his brows and said, "But isn't this young man a bit too cruel? Those people have lost their ability to fight back. Why does he still want to kill them?" "Fengyun, this is where you're wrong. How can a warrior's killing be described as cruel? Don't forget, every man from the Long Saber Gang has killed a lot of people. Is it because they're old? Is that why he doesn't want to kill them? Will you sympathize with your enemies on the battlefield?" Ancestor Scarlet Flame said. No. Zhao Fengyin looked at Ling Zhao again. When she thought of herself, she suddenly felt less disgusted. No wonder little sister Qinglian took a fancy to this brat. This brat is indeed unique. Unfortunately, he had the Xuanji martial spirit. He's not compatible with the three of us, so there's no way we can teach him. Ancestor Scarlet Flame sighed. Let's wait and see. I don't think he's that simple. Green Lotus, swordswoman, said. Indeed, Ling Zhao released the Xuanji martial spirit just to test it out. Do you want to continue? Trash from the Long Knife Gang? Ling Zhao clasped his hands behind his back, his long black hair fluttering in the wind. He looked at the members of the Long Knife Gang arrogantly and provoked them. The members of the Long Knife Gang were both shocked and angry. They were shocked because Ling Zhao's strength was too terrifying. They were angry because Ling Zhao had already killed hundreds of their Long Blade Gang members. This enmity could be considered to have been completely formed. Old 9, Old 8, Old 7, Old 6. 4 of the 9 leaders had been killed by Ling Zhao. If they didn't get back at him today, the Long Knife Gang wouldn't be able to survive in the Battle Spirit City in the future. Although they were afraid, they were also angry. They were actually scolded as scum and trash. How could they not be angry? When people were angry, they would always give up thinking calmly and do some irrational things. They even forgot about their fear. Let's go together. Kill this brat. If 400 people can't do it, then 4,000 people go. All of you go. Surround him, kill him, and avenge the leaders. As the saying goes, ants can bite an elephant to death. Having more people was naturally an advantage. Unfortunately, it depended on the person. For Ling Xiao, having more people was meaningless. Facing the attack of so many people, is the Xuanji martial spirit still useful? Green Lotus, swordswoman frowned. After all, she didn't want Ling Xiao to be killed. After all, daring to fight against the Long Knife Gang alone was an admirable move in itself. I don't know. If this Brett doesn't have any other trump cards, he's dead. Ancestor Scarlet Flame also said. At the same time, he was also looking forward to whether Ling Xiao had a performance that would surprise him more. At the same time, it wasn't 400 or 4,000 people who attacked Ling Xiao, but all the members of the Long Knife Gang. Close to 10,000 people. Those colorful attacks shot out from the void, all aimed at Ling Xiao. They wanted to blast Ling Xiao into pieces. Why isn't he moving? Xiao Huan was anxious. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Ling Xiao actually stood there motionless. This made her unable to understand. This Brett isn't planning to use his physical body to resist this attack, right? Unless he has cultivated a peak 5th Order Emperor grade defensive martial skill. Otherwise, it is impossible to block it. Zhao Fengyun frowned. Maybe he's just scared silly. Ancestor Scarlet Flame joked. Scared silly? Didn't you see the contemptuous expression on his face? Green Lotus, swordswoman, shook her head gently. Finally, all the attacks fell on Ling Xiao's body one after another. The sound and light caused by the martial skill completely drowned Ling Xiao. It blocked everyone's line of sight. Ha ha ha, serves him right. He must be dead. Daring to go against our Long Knife Gang, this is the end. Old 9, Old 8, Old 7, Old 6, brother has avenged you. The leader of the Long Knife Gang also felt that Ling Xiao was dead. In the face of such an attack, he actually didn't dodge. This was simply courting death. How is it, Master? How is that person? Xiao Huan asked anxiously. Don't worry, he's not dead. Green Lotus swordswoman was naturally much smarter. She captured Ling Xiao's aura. Not only did it not weaken, but it also became stronger. After being hit by so many attacks, the potential in Ling Xiao's body erupted again. The original 60% of the cultivation sea's energy directly skyrocketed to 70%. Although each increase was very difficult, it was very difficult. However, every time he improved, it meant that he had improved. The attack stopped. The sound and light dissipated. Ling Xiao was still standing there, all over his body. Even his clothes were not broken. The cold and domineering smile was still hanging on his face. How is this possible? Panic. For the first time, the leader of the Long Knife Gang panicked. He had never seen such a terrifying opponent before. After being hit by so many attacks, he was actually unharmed. Is this a human or a ghost? Is this person a human-shaped monster beast? Exclamations came from the crowd. The people who were watching the fun were also stunned. Regardless of Ling Xiao's attack power, this terrifying defense alone was enough to let him run rampant in the entire Fighting Soul City. I'm afraid that in addition to the Gold Elders and Gold Deacons, only the people of the city, Lord's Mansion, may be able to hurt him. Others really can't. Ha ha ha. Today I picked up a treasure. My hands are a little itchy. Ancestor Scarlet Flame laughed excitedly. Chapter 3975. Most of them thought that Ling Xiao would be smashed into pieces by the attacks of tens of thousands of people. But the result was completely different from what they had imagined. Not only was Ling Xiao not dead, but he was also alive and well. Are you giving me a massage? But your service attitude is not very good. Ling Xiao sneered. Then he suddenly took out the blood sovereign sword. The ice-cold sword intent emitted a terrifying bloody aura. Slaughterhouse of celestial demon seal. On the scarlet blood sovereign sword, blood-red incantations appeared. At that moment, a huge red halo covered the tens of thousands of people from the Longbow gang. The next moment, the fine sword chi began to be released. Screams rose one after another, like pigs, dogs, cattle, and sheep in a slaughterhouse. Those with weak cultivation died in an instant under the killing of the sword chi. Their bodies were shattered by the terrifying sword chi. Like minced meat in a blender, everyone looked at the scene in horror. If Ling Xiao only had an abnormal defense, it would be fine. At most, he could not be killed. But what was with this terrifying sword technique? With such a powerful sword technique, one person against 10,000 people. It was like stepping on a group of ants. Countless people were dumbfounded, staring at everything in front of them. They were sure that they were not dreaming or hallucinating. All of this was real, and they saw it with their own eyes. Except for the remaining 5 leaders, the others almost had no power to resist. But the most unlucky ones were the warriors in the outer circle, because they were the meat shields of the warriors in the inner circle. But the warriors in the inner circle would only die a little later, and they would have to experience the most terrible fear before death. No one knew whether they were lucky or unlucky. What an overbearing sword essence. What a terrifying sword principle. This young man, I want him. Finally, Green Lotus Swordswoman showed an excited look, feeling that her whole body was trembling. She finally found the disciple she had been looking for a long time. Ling Xiao not only had the Xuanji martial spirit and a terrifying physical body, he also had a powerful sword principle. It was perfect. Although this boy is a little cruel, if he doesn't kill the Longbow gang, they will kill him. He had no other choice. Little sister Qinglian, please don't fight with me over him. I want this brat. Ancestor Scarlet Flame said excitedly, although many people were selected and sent to the 3,000 sacred cities. However, he had never seen anyone like Ling Xiao. If he could guide Ling Xiao to the 3,000 holy cities, or even the City of Gold, he would be able to do it. He would have no regrets, even if he couldn't take in another disciple in this lifetime. Leave it to me. This kid is born to be a soldier. He kills decisively and is full of fighting spirit. It's a pity that you didn't join the army. Zhao Fengyun also wanted Ling Xiao. The 3 gold elders were all shocked by Ling Xiao's performance and were unwilling to give up. While they were arguing, the slaughterhouse finally stopped. The ground was covered with corpses. Out of the 10,000 people, only a dozen or so were left. This was the terror of the strong. The more powerful a country was, the fewer soldiers they had. This was because they needed elites. He was an elite who could fight against 100 enemies alone. Trash that was sent to the battlefield would only be sending their heads to their deaths. The leader of the Long Saber gang was covered in blood, although he had blocked a large number of attacks, and even used his own gang members to block them for him. However, he was still injured. There was no longer hatred or anger in his eyes. There was only fear and confusion. Why was a young man who looked less than 20 years old so terrifying? It was so terrifying that it made people tremble. Mercy! Hero, please spare our lives. We were wrong. We shouldn't have provoked you. Some people had already knelt on the ground and shouted in horror. The other party had almost wiped out the Long Saber gang with just one move. If they didn't beg for mercy now, what were they waiting for? It's too late. Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded. I just reminded you not to make a move. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. But you seem to think that I'm weak and easy to bully. You think that I'll be easily killed by you. So you attacked. If I was seriously injured by you, would you be merciful enough to let me live? No. It's not that no one has ever begged for mercy like this, but no one has survived because of it. Do you still expect me to let you go? Hearing Ling Zhao's words, the onlookers agreed. The Long Saber Gang had killed many people. They had even seen the scum of the Long Saber Gang rape a girl with their own eyes. The girl begged for mercy and pain, but she was still tortured to death by them. At that time, the Long Saber Gang didn't have any mercy. Kill them! A voice came from the crowd. Kill these scum! The crowd was filled with righteous indignation. Normally, they didn't dare to do anything because they were afraid of the Long Saber Gang. But today they saw how powerful Ling Xiao was and finally found someone who could suppress the Long Saber Gang. Of course, they wouldn't swallow their anger. Zhang He, who was in the Dongsheng Emperor ring, felt numb. Ling Xiao's strength was far beyond his imagination. He finally understood why Ling Xiao didn't care about the selection at all. Why Ling Xiao didn't care about the Long Saber Gang at all. This young man was too terrifying. Maybe he's a legendary genius. I, Zhang He, have no regrets in my life to know such a person. Zhang He was so excited that he shed tears. It's really boring to kill all of you. So, I didn't want to bother with you from the beginning. But you've gone too far. When you go to hell, remember one thing. Even if you're a gangster, there are people you can't afford to offend. Die! Ling Zhao's figure flashed as he executed the Sanguine Light clone slash. He wanted to kill all the remaining members of the Long Saber Gang. However, at this moment, a figure appeared in front of Ling Xiao. The figure blocked his attack. Ling Zhao's true core strength was always distributed according to the opponent's strength, because it was very easy to kill the remaining members of the Long Saber Gang. He didn't use much true core strength. However, his attack was easily blocked by the opponent. He stood there and looked coldly at the person who suddenly appeared. He was wearing a long robe that was obviously specially made. He was Deacon Gold from the Golden Heavenly Nation. Deacon Bai, what are you doing? Green Lotus, swordswoman frowned. I don't know. They were clearly not allowed to intervene just now. Zhao Fengyan also frowned. What else can it be? Do you think that the Long Saber Gang can rise so quickly in the Battle Soul City and be so unscrupulous without anyone behind them? Ancestor Scarlet Flame sneered and said, I've known about this for a long time, but I was too lazy to care about it. These guys came to the Battle Soul City and thought that they had lost the restraint of the Golden Heavenly Nation and became lawless. Master, what should we do? Once Deacon Gold makes a move, Ling Xiao will be in trouble. Xiao, Huan hurriedly said. Don't worry, let's wait and see. Green Lotus swordswoman didn't intend to make a move immediately. It was too early to make a move now. She would miss a lot of interesting scenes. Chapter 3976. Since the Green Lotus swordswoman had taken a fancy to Ling Xiao, she would not allow Ling Xiao to be killed by the Gold Deacon. However, she was very interested in how Ling Xiao would deal with the Gold Deacon. Ancestor Scarlet Flame and Zhao Fengyan had the same idea. Greetings, Gold Deacon. May I know what advice you have for me? Ling Xiao looked calmly at the Gold Deacon in front of him, cupped his hands, and asked. Using peaceful means before resorting to force was his principle. If the other party was unreasonable, he wouldn't even give face to a Gold Elder, let alone a Gold Deacon. Humph, what's your name? You actually dared to harm Fighting Spirit City's martial artists in public. How are you going to atone for your sins with all these corpses on the ground? Deacon Bai snorted coldly. As soon as he came up, he started denouncing him to his face. This made Ling Xiao frown slightly. In an instant, he understood the reason behind it. Then he chuckled and said, Didn't Sir Deacon hear? The cheers of the crowd. As Gold Deacons, you allowed the Long Blade Gang to run amok in War Spirit City, killing civilians and martial artists. Yet he remained indifferent. This in itself was dereliction of duty. Now that I've done it for you, not only are you not grateful, you even want to accuse me of my crimes. What kind of logic is this? Are you the one behind the long saber gang? The crowd was in an uproar when they heard this. No wonder the long saber gang is so unscrupulous and no one cares. I think this young man is right. If the long knife gang had a gold deacon as their backer, they would be able to take over the long knife gang. The long knife gang is naturally not afraid of anyone. Don't talk nonsense. Even if this is the truth, be careful that the deacon will make things difficult for you. Deacon Bai's face darkened as he listened to the crowd's discussion. He originally thought that Ling Xiao would immediately kneel and beg for mercy once he revealed his identity as a deacon. But he was wrong. Ling Xiao was not the kind of person who would obediently admit defeat. By doing this, not only would he not be able to scare Ling Xiao, but it would also arouse Ling Xiao's desire to resist. So what if he was a gold deacon? In the end, he was just a perfect sixth divine core warrior. Ling Xiao really didn't care, unless the 3 golden grade elders took action. No one in Fighting Spirit City would be able to stop Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao could clearly sense that the 3 elders were not on the same side as the gold deacons. You, how dare you? Deacon Bai shouted sternly. You're the impudent one. Golden Heavenly Nation did not appoint you as a deacon to fill their own pockets and bully the kind. Ling Xiao's voice was louder than Deacon Bai's. The terrifying aura scared Deacon Bai so much that he retreated a few steps. Scram, or I'll kill you too, Ling Xiao shouted. I don't believe you dare to kill a deacon of the Golden Heavenly Nation. Although Deacon Bai was afraid, he did not choose to retreat. Otherwise, he would lose face. All right, then, let's die together. The blood supreme sword in Ling Xiao's hand trembled as the ice-cold sword intent released an explosive killing intent. Right at this moment, Deacon Bai covered his head and fled like a rat. He felt like he was being targeted by an ancient ferocious beast. The fear had penetrated deep into his soul, and there was no way he could resist it. Trash! Ling Xiao threw a disdainful glance at Deacon Bai. Finally, he killed all the remaining men from the Long Blade Gang. How dare you? How dare you kill people in front of the gold deacons? Men, take this brat down for me. Deacon Bai roared. He believed that even if he wasn't a match for Ling Xiao, there were still other deacons around. If they worked together, they would definitely be able to capture Ling Xiao. This Ling Xiao had ruined his plan, and he would never forgive Ling Xiao. Hold on. Finally, a voice sounded out from the crowd. It was Sword Lady Green Lotus. Although she sounded gentle, her tone was unquestionable. Greetings, Elder Green Lotus. All the deacons quickly kneeled down. The hundreds of thousands of onlookers also knelt down. Only Ling Xiao was still standing there. He hated kneeling down to others, unless it was an elder he respected. Otherwise, even if the other party was an emperor, he wouldn't want to kneel down. Deacon Bai, what crime did Ling Xiao commit? Sword Lady Green Lotus asked faintly. Elder, Ling Xiao slaughtered tens of thousands of people in Fighting Soul City. His crime is unforgivable. Deacon Bai gritted his teeth and said, Yes, there is indeed such a clause in the law. Sword Lady Green Lotus nodded slightly and then changed the topic. However, the law also states that if the murderer can pass the test of the gold deacons and become a disciple of the gold heavenly nation, he can be pardoned. Even if he is a devil, it is still the same. Deacon Bai opened his mouth, but didn't dare to say anything. Sword Lady Green Lotus looked dignified and gentle. However, those who really knew her knew that she was very scary. Not only was her strength terrifying, her character was also terrifying. Ling Xiao, are you willing to accept this elder's test? Sword Lady Green Lotus asked faintly. Yes. Ling Xiao had been waiting for this opportunity. How could he refuse? Good. This is not the place to fight. Go to the arena and fight with me. At that time, I will suppress my cultivation to the same level as yours. If you can survive under my hands, you will pass the test. Then you can become a disciple of the gold, heavenly nation." After saying that, Sword Lady Green Lotus didn't explain further. She directly soared into the sky and turned into a beam of sword light, heading for the arena. Ling Xiao frowned. "Suppress your cultivation to the same level as mine. I'm afraid you are no match for me." He smiled weirdly and then soared into the sky. "Let's go and watch the show. Elder Green Lotus is fighting the hero who slaughtered the Long Saber Gang." Logically speaking, since Sword Lady Green Lotus had taken a fancy to Ling Xiao, she could directly take Ling Xiao as her disciple. Then he could go to the gold, heavenly nation with her. However, Ling Xiao's performance just now made Sword Lady Green Lotus feel itchy. Therefore, she proposed the idea of a battle. Of course, this was only one of the personal reasons. More importantly, the video of the test had to be stored in the memory metal and sent to the 3,000 sacred cities for inspection. This battle was unavoidable. More and more people gathered in the arena. 100,000 people, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. It had been many years since the Green Lotus swordswoman had made a move. Many martial artists wanted to gain some experience from her battle. In the arena, Sword Lady Green Lotus and Ling Xiao stood 100 meters apart. If it were someone else, they would feel uncomfortable facing Sword Lady Green Lotus like this, because Sword Lady Green Lotus was like a peerless sword out of its sheath. Her cold sword essence could make people feel stinging pain at all times. But what about Ling Xiao? He didn't react at all. Instead, he stood there as if nothing had happened. Idol. Hero. He is the role model of our generation. As long as he can survive under Elder Green Lotus Sword, he can become a disciple of the gold heavenly nation. I'm so envious. We have been here for decades, but we haven't been able to realize our dream. His dream will come true soon. Chapter 3977. That's right, if Elder Green Lotus suppresses her cultivation to the same level as that guy, I'm sure he'll be able to survive. Zhang, he felt happy for Ling Xiao as well. Right now, he was released from the Dongsheng Emperor ring by Ling Xiao, and he was standing among the crowd. This guy is not bad. Sister Green Lotus has completely unleashed her sword energy. Although she has suppressed her cultivation to the same level as that guy, he didn't even blink. This means that his sword energy isn't any weaker than Green Lotus's at the same level. He's definitely a sword genius who isn't any weaker than Green Lotus. The more Ancestor Scarlet Flame looked at Jiang Qin, the more he liked him. He regretted not attacking first. Elder Green Lotus, can I ask you more about the rules? How many attacks do I have to survive before I'm killed by you? Ling Xiao asked. Facing the violent sword energy, he was still as calm as ever. Since his opponent hadn't unleashed her true cultivation, there was nothing for him to be afraid of. If Sword Mistress Green Lotus only unleashed the strength of a peak divine core warrior, to be honest, he didn't even need to use his beast soul transformation. About 10 attacks. Sword Mistress Green Lotus thought for a moment, then said, "If you're still alive after 10 attacks, you've passed my test." 10 attacks? Easy. Ling Xiao smiled. This was much easier than he had expected. Easy? Let me advise you not to be too conceited. Although you've just defeated a peak divine core warrior, you're still strong. Just like having a strong cultivation base doesn't necessarily mean you're strong. Their foundations are too weak. Their combat strength is even weaker than a perfect divine core warrior from the Golden Heavenly Nation, who is a perfect third divine core warrior. As for me, I'm a genius sword cultivator from the Golden Heavenly Nation. If you underestimate your opponent, you'll die. Once Sword Mistress Green Lotus started fighting, she would become cold, just like the sword in her hand. It was bone-chilling. Will I die? Ling Xiao smiled, but he didn't say anything. although he was sure that even if he didn't attack, Sword Mistress Green Lotus Attack wouldn't be able to break through his defense. But he wouldn't say it out loud. He had to pass the test first. He wasn't stupid. "Elder, please." Ling Xiao prepared himself, but he didn't use his sword, because there was no need. What he needed to do was to not die within 10 moves. Isn't this brat a bit too arrogant? His opponent is Qinglian. Underestimating the enemy will really lead to death. Ancestor Scarlet Flame was a little worried. "It doesn't matter. We'll know once we take a look," Zhao Fengyin said indifferently. He had a feeling that Ling Xiao was far from using his true strength. The Green Lotus swordswoman might not be able to gain the upper hand in this battle. First move. Green Lotus swordswoman did not waste any more time and finally made her move. With a slight shake of the crystal-like sword in his hand, a bone-chilling aura was released. Even though he was hundreds of meters away, Ling Xiao could still feel the chill. Green Lotus swordswoman seemed to have turned into a beam of sword light. It became one with the long sword in his hand, making it incomparably sharp. Invincible. Ling Xiao looked at his opponent's sword and thought about his own sword. As the saying goes, there is bound to be someone to learn from. Ling Xiao had never thought that his sword Dao was unparalleled. Therefore, he was very humble. This was a test, but at the same time it was a chance for him to learn. The sword energy finally arrived. It was like a white rainbow that split open the sky. The onlookers were so scared that they all cried out in alarm. Sect Elder Qinglian is indeed Sect Elder Qinglian, even though she's only at the peak 4th Divine Core Realm. Her sword skill is still so frightening. Falling plum clear shadow steps. Ling Xiao didn't take the first move head-on. Instead, he chose to dodge. The falling plum clear shadow steps was unleashed. Like a phantom, he disappeared from where he stood and reappeared behind Green Lotus swordswoman. If Ling Xiao chose to attack at this moment, Green Lotus swordswoman would have to hastily react. But Ling Xiao didn't attack. This wasn't a fight to determine the winner. It was a test. Within 10 moves, he wouldn't take the initiative to attack. All he needed to do was dodge or block. What? Although the dodge seemed light, it still shocked Ancestor Scarlet Flame and Zhao Fengyin, who were watching from the side. This brat. Ancestor Scarlet Flame swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This is a supreme treasure. Old Zhao, which saint city do you think he should belong to? Each of the 3,000 saint cities has their own strengths. Let him go to the Fighting Soul Saint City. The Fighting Soul Saint City is a complicated place, and it's perfect for someone like him who is proficient in multiple abilities. Zhao Fengyin thought for a moment and said, although the fight wasn't over yet, they were sure that Ling Xiao would be able to pass the test. Because if Ling Xiao kept dodging with the falling plum, clear shadow steps, Green Lotus swordswoman wouldn't be able to hurt him within 10 moves. And the Fighting Soul Saint City is the direct superior of this Fighting Soul Saint City. Not bad. Ancestor Scarlet Flame thought for a moment. Then he nodded his head and said, Sect Elder Qinglian, do you still want to continue? Ling Xiao stood there and looked at Green Lotus swordswoman with a smile on his face. Looks like I've underestimated you. If we're at the same cultivation level, I'm not your match. Green Lotus swordswoman actually admitted it. If you chose to fight back just now, I would definitely lose. Sect Elder, you're being too modest. I'm afraid your cultivation level has already reached the extreme core realm. To be able to play with this kid is already giving him a lot of face. If you want, you can kill this kid with a flick of your finger. My movement skill is just showing off in front of an expert. Of course, Ling Xiao wouldn't be proud because of this, because he knew very well that when Green Lotus swordswoman suppressed her cultivation level, she couldn't use many of the martial skills she was good at. It was normal that she wasn't his match. Hee hee, I didn't expect someone as proud as you to say such modest words. It seems that it's not appropriate to say that you're arrogant. Green Lotus, swordswoman smiled and said, "Forget it. I once promised you that if you don't die within 10 moves of mine, I can send you to the 3,000 sacred cities. Now, there's no need to continue. Zhanlong, this kid belongs to your fighting Soul Saint City. Guard him well for me. He's a treasure. If you break him, I'll make trouble for you." She looked at a muscular young man in black armor in the crowd and suddenly said, "Yes, Sect Elder." Zhanlong was very surprised. Senior Green Lotus had never valued a person so much. Today, she really had to make an exception. Ling Xiao could feel that Green Lotus swordswoman, Ancestor Scarlet Flame, and Zhao Fengyan weren't as simple as Golden Sect Elders. Ordinary Golden Sect Elders were at least at the peak 7th Divine Core Realm. That meant they were at the peak Earth Core Realm. However, the cultivation bases of these 3 people were clearly in the extreme realm of Core. For some unknown reason, the 3 of them didn't stay in the Golden City, but came to a small place like the Fighting Soul City. It would be hard to find the answer in a short period of time, but he believed he would find out in the future. I don't accept this. Just as Ling Xiao was about to accept Green Lotus swordswoman's kindness and go to the Fighting Soul Saint City with Zhanlong, a voice sounded out. It was Deacon Bai. "You don't accept this?" Green Lotus swordswoman's eyes were cold. "What a reckless fool. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.